Welcome, Early Bird Catches the Worm. This is the DNX Show. I'm Todd Ryan. We have Josh Reason on his way in. I'm sure he's rushing in from the UK. He's enjoying life, so I assume he's going to stop in today. Invited Ryan Ewan, also from the UK. He's a big domainer. Said he sold 30,000 names in the past year. Hope he can join us today. I'd love to hear, some details. So everybody, welcome as we get rolling here on the DNX Show. Guys, most of you know we do this every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go, we've committed for 10 years. We're going to see if we can go 15. Okay, so, a lot of work to get ready for this. Basically, looking up domain sales, domain news. Really enjoyed ourselves last night. We had a meetup downtown Los Angeles. It was at the D3 office. If you're not familiar with D3, you can check out d3.com. Used to be on d3.inc, I believe. They were on there, but Braden helped them acquire d3.com. So great name. But we were downtown it wasn't an LA meetup. It was really a dev event put on by D3. They have a DOMA protocol. It's basically they've created their own blockchain, and they're really inviting builders to build on the blockchain. So it's not really looking for a lot of collaboration, not a lot of competition. It's more of just collaboration. So if you're interested, you should check out doma.xyz and you can get some more information. Josh here as co-host. We'll get rolling. Rolling. Yeah, lots of, every week, so much going on in the domain space. I mean, let's face the music. All the news, we get these legal stories, which I don't, I'm spending so much time on domain name law, and I got a couple sessions this, this year at NamesCon with the lawyers, but some court cases. I don't find them interesting, but I tell you, there's a lot of them. Well, good morning, Josh, or good evening. How's everything going? What's up?
What's up, dude? Nothing much. How was your evening yesterday?
Yeah, it was cool as ice, and I brought up a couple of your sales. We were talking. People are just wondering, what's happened in the past week. What about this .ai? Is it here to stay? Of course, the normal questions, but it was interesting, Josh, because D3. Of course, we were downtown, and I got get some great information. I picked up Braden, so I got to talk with him on the long traffic ride down there, and of course the way home. So interesting stuff he mentions about just challenges he has with buyers sometimes, and brokers, and interesting stories. Some I think I can probably share, but when we were there, a lot of Web 2 and Web 3 folks, and the Web 3 people are just really interested in domain investing. So they're just, that's why they were asking about, what's going on with this next round? What about
When
.ai? Is it for real? But it was a
mm,
good time. I'm looking at your post right now to get some great topics. You mentioned a lot of stuff this week on X. But what's going on? What's happening domain wise?
some days I won't do anything, and the next day I'll go on like tweet rampages. Um, yeah, man. So that's cool.
I'll
You
mention, but
guys,
it was pretty fucking awesome. Meaning the Web 3, there was a guy there that bought anime.com, right? The guy that runs, I guess they're owned by Azuki. That, are you familiar with that NFT? It seemed, I guess it did pretty well when it came out. It's a anime NFT, the normal
yeah,
10,000.
yeah, yeah.
They got a coin now and stuff. Anyway, that guy's pretty cool. Byron, who they basically bought anime.com, and he's really turning that into something. And then Fred's gonna apply for .anime, and so we were mentioning that. But it was an interesting discussion. But like I said, the Web 3 folks, they're like, so what about domain investing? I invited several of them here today. I said, listen, we try to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. What do you invest in? How can you make money? It's not like shooting fish in a barrel. This is not easy. And everybody's sort of coming to that acknowledgement or their realization that, yeah, so domain investing is cool, but it's just not easy because people have been dabbling with it and realize how come I can buy so easy, but no one's, selling. No one's having any success on the sell end. But
Mm. I mean, buying is not easy. It's not easy at all. Um, so there's already a flaw in that perspective.
yeah, I guess acquiring is easy, not making good acquisitions because you're right. Everybody's like, well, all I have to do is go and this registrar offers every extension, so I can buy anything I want. And you're right. That's when to put on the brakes. Well, what's the latest? You asked online about other folks' latest acquisitions, and we heard about some of your sales last week. What anything you pick up in the last week?
Yeah, man. I've been buying quite a lot. I've I have been buying some new GTLDs, which is uh is cool. I mean, you know me. I've talked about it a lot. I have a pretty diverse portfolio. Um, I do think that there is some low hanging fruit. And I do think I'm seeing more adoption on the new GTLD side. We can talk a little bit more about that because I think it's something that we haven't talked about much before. I think that there are a few things that still hold it back. I think one of them is discovery. Um, I think that um, one of the big issues is like even despite how good some of the combos are and how many end users would probably like them, I think a lot of the time they just don't know they exist, and you know, when they go to their preferred registrar or marketplace or what have you, I don't think we fully, I don't think we have the most efficient way for a buyer to actually find the best domain for them, or at least present them the option, at least make them aware of what's available. And I think new GTLDs really struggle in that area. But having said that, I do think that we are seeing some uh, more considerable adoption. Um, so I picked up a few of those. Picked up a few names uh, from guys on X, just people that posted a name on X, and I was like, I'll buy it. Normally, those have been names that I'd had an eye on before. So one was socialmarket.com that I bought for 5K from someone that I saw posted it on X. I'd actually been looking at it already on DNX because the price kept changing, so I kept noticing it. And then I saw him mention that he bought it on X, so we came to a deal and I bought that. And then the same thing, almost the same thing yesterday with a guy. I bought highvibes.com from him. Literally the same situation. I'd seen it on DNX. It was a little bit high. I saw him post it on X, and I was like, "Hey, if you want to sell it, let me know." We came to a quick deal. And then I bought a bunch of new GTLDs. Sold a few as well. Um, I posted. I think we talked a little bit last week, maybe about 20.1. I bought some more, kind of similar to that. Bull.run. I think that's good for the crypto space. Morning.coffee. You know, names where essentially, if you take away the dot, they make a ton of sense. So yeah.
Well, Josh, I was going to say, so morning.coffee I think is great, meaning that extension is really unusual because you can't see a lot of SLDs that are going to be great with .coffee. But so two things. One, morning.coffee, excuse me, I see, you said bull.run, fit.now. I'm assuming all these were registered and you bought them on the aftermarket. So first, is that the case?
So I don't own Fit.now anymore. I sold that. I sold that one in a batch with a few other .now names. Uh, that post that you see that mentioned in that was from October of last year, and I hand registered that one. Um, But the other ones I did just buy. Morning.coffee, that was an aftermarket purchase. Ball.run, aftermarket purchase. Um, yeah,
And
and I probably bought about, I don't know, 10 other new GTLDs that are kind of similar to those.
well, we don't we call this the DNX show because it was my idea because I thought domain name and X can mean anything. Of course, you founded DNX.com, a great platform about specifically finding names on the aftermarket. But tell us about the one feature because I know it's easily accessible now, but tell us about the one feature of how do you, so someone goes to DNX.com and they want to look for domains that have recent price changes. How do they do that?
Mm, so there is a filter for basically changes uh, within certain time periods. So you can like select within the last 24 hours, within the last 7 days, within the last 30 days, kind of similar to like the kind of filter that you would see on expired domains. Um, the difference is it's not just when it doesn't uh, it shows names that have had price changes as well as names that have been added to the platform. And then um, if they're newly added, then you'll see that they don't the names themselves don't have historical price data. But if they weren't newly added and it was just a price change, then on the name itself, you'll be able to see the historical price data.
And people get confused and think they can submit names to DNX, but that's not how it works. You get the domain names for sale from the marketplaces. What marketplaces do you collect from?
Um, Currently, it's just three. It's Afternic, Cedo, and Atom.
Okay, so but if somebody changes their price at any of those places, somebody changes the price at Atom, it's going to show up. So I search, four letter, anything four letter and less, and I'm searching just .com and .org, and I want to see what's changed in the last week. That can all be done, correct?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I do that. So social market. I like any domains. As domainers, we know there's certain words. Market is one. Almost anything with market. Social market. Unusual. What price range did you get it for, and how do you price that now? I mean, do you have it priced, or is that a make off, or
Yeah.
what do you do with it?
So the reason why I wanted that name is because I bought socialmarketplace.com in an expired auction recently. So naturally, that leads me down the rabbit hole to say, okay, who owns socialmarket.com, which I think is a better. Uh, it's not exactly the same, but they could be used similarly, and I think socialmarket.com is better. So I just wanted to see what the status is with that, and I saw that it was I think it was listed for like 50 grand or something like that. But then I saw the buyer of it post that like just out of coincidence, I saw him posting on X that he purchased it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 grand. I think he purchased it on Vision. Oh no, he bought it on Unstoppable. He might have bought it on Unstoppable. So I messaged him and I just said, hey, if you ever want to sell this, let me know. And then a few days, and he was like, yeah, sure, we'll do. We chatted in the past. And then a few days later, he came back and he said, like, "Hey, um, would you give me 6K for it?" And I said, "I'll give you five." And sent him the money, and it was done. So I paid 5K.
Inviting some folks. We were going to talk about your session at NamesCon, but for the next 15 minutes or so, there's been some updates to the agenda at NamesCon. I want to talk about that, but I will also, Josh. I mean, the acquiring of names. We're going to get back to that because I see with some of you, I'd say, the top domainers in the space, really not getting super aggressive, but basically aggressive in my eyes, buying names out there. So, like you said with this guy, hey, you're because there's a feeling that yeah, the prices are only going up with certain names. You want to get them now, and we're going to talk about a possible domain fund that we're going to be putting together that I was talking with Fred last night about. But just so many interesting things in the domain space about. Um, I asked Ollie from NamesCon to join us today. Let's see if he's on stage. Ollie, is that you?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, sound good. I'm a
Sounding
little.
good. Nice. How's everyone doing?
Thanks, Ollie, and
Doing great.
excuse me for being. There was so many changes to the agenda. I'm really looking forward to it. Most importantly, we wanted to tell everybody tomorrow the price increases. So if you're going to, excuse me for a second. Okay, you guys could have jumped in. Anyway, about the price ticket, the price increase. You can use a code. Ollie, I'm going to go ahead and tell them. Speaker 20 is a code that you allowed me to give out to get
Yep.
20% off. Well, they can get 20% off today's price. It's going to go up tomorrow. So you certainly, if you haven't got your ticket, and I had some friends email this morning saying, I'm getting my ticket. What was that code you said? So you want to, if you're going, get your ticket today just to save yourself some money and then save another 20% on top of it. Use the code SPEAKER20. So, Ollie, now I have some questions for you. So, there's, my partner, Chad Folkening, that I run a business with called Pay Now. Of course, I plug it. I see that he is during a session, and we're going to go through these sessions pretty fast because I wanted to ask you a little bit about them. But I see a couple people have already been added. Matter of fact, I just checked again, and now another person's been added to his session. He get moved around like a like a chump. No, I'm just kidding. But because he was moderating it. But great sessions, great people, and a lot's happening. So if we just went
Yeah.
down the first day, I wanted to ask you. So tell us a little bit about Zoran's gonna, start off like he does with a sort of um, the welcoming speech at 9 that morning, and then we jump right into all these different sessions. But can you just touch on what's happening day one?
Yeah, sure. So Soren's going to kick us off, obviously. So our theme is unlocking tomorrow. So, that's really going into um, the theme is really coming down to like the 40th anniversary for .com. So as many of you know, Symbolics with Aaron, he's owned that now for quite some time. And it was 1985, I believe, was when it turned 40. Or sorry, what is it? Its launch. So now we are in the 40th birthday. So that's the theme that we're kicking off with, and looking on to the next 40 years and unlocking that tomorrow. Um, but then yeah, we jump into it with Andrew Miller. So obviously, I'm sure everyone knows Andrew. The high stakes domains. He's got a lot of interesting stories to tell us about that. And then further into it, obviously we have Josh, which looking forward to having Josh come up on stage. Now he's all confirmed, but building, pricing, selling a profitable domain. So really looking into you know what's needed for domainers. What's the sort of the nitty grittiness that needs to be done? What's the mastering of it? And then a session that's kind of flying through here, just
Yeah,
just
Ollie, I
where
wanted to say quickly about Andrew Miller. I heard that he was going to have a potential end user because we hear a lot of folks, and you and I talked about, some different voices, in the space coming up. And I knew Andrew Miller was thinking about having, like he did last year, the guys that bought Home.com, maybe one of his clients come up. So I think he may have a surprise there. And then when you were
okay,
talking about the session just now with
yeah,
Josh, okay,
yeah.
Josh,
There's
Mike, Mann, and Braden. I just wanted to add in that I just was with Braden last night, and I was telling him, listen, he speaks at every event, but and he's like, I know people, listen to him plenty, but he has so much great data from this last 6 months. So he's sharing things that has never been shared before. He's investing more than he's ever invested. Like Josh, they're out there doing. So I look at it, to have. We want to certainly have new voices, but some of the mainstays, they're doing things, they're doing new things and still innovating. So I mean, I love the Mike Mann, Braden, and Josh session because it's really mostly for domain investors, how to build a portfolio, and we're listening to guys that are buying stuff now. But just wanted to mention that I like those three together. Do you plan on adding anybody to a fourth to that session? Just curious.
Yeah, so Sam, the program manager, he's got a few speakers up his sleeves, which are still to come out. So we are still bolstering the agenda. We're still bolstering the speakers lineup. Yeah, it's certainly something to keep your eye on. Yeah, it is, as you mentioned, Todd, it is evolving constantly. So if you do have your eyes on it, it'll be changing tomorrow. That's the kind of way things have been going. Um, but a new session that's sort of come into the mix recently is on day one. It's AI friend or foe. So exploring the future of domains, domain investing in the age of AI. This is something that we've got a lot of interest on. A lot of people have reached out to sort of inquire more about it, both on a sort of information standpoint and on a speaker standpoint. So yeah, we're really excited for that one. I know there's going to be a good turnout for that.
Sam, or I mean, sorry, Ollie, let me say I did, you know, it was Chad saying, hey, we need an AI session. He was sort of, like there's so many folks that want to speak, and it is fun. And I'm glad I have the opportunity. But Chad was like, hey, a great topic that I didn't see was about AI and friend or foe.
Yeah,
Sam was like love the idea. Zoran, I mean, everybody was real receptive to it. And then I know Chad had added or had reached out to the gentleman that if people are you can look at namescon.com and look at the agenda, but there's a gentleman, co-founder of Purple Horizons, real innovative company, Ralph Quintero. So I saw those two, and now interesting. So I'm not real familiar with the others, but can you tell me a little bit about Rachel Sterling, who's over at Identity Digital, and Sammy Ahmed at name.com? What's their background or their interest in AI? I mean, do you know why they were
I
interested in that?
I'm afraid I actually can't personally give you that update. We've only just brought these speakers on board um, as of yesterday, and Sam, content manager, hasn't been able to sort of give us the updates, unfortunately. But we can obviously send through more updates. We can update yourself, Todd, and we can put more stuff into this space as over time goes on. So yeah, there's much more to come on that. But yeah, unfortunately, quite a few of these speakers are like literally brand new. So there is some more details to come.
Yeah, Ollie,
Uh,
I can't wait to meet you in person, dude, and putting you on the spot like this. Thanks for coming in because the most important, you and I were just trying to tell everybody, listen, the price is going up tomorrow. You can get a better price today, plus 20% off. So that was what was important. And then I just happened to, like I said, looking at the agenda, and I'm like, geez, so more people are added. Pretty cool. I don't know a lot of them, and looking forward to meeting them. That's why I was asking about the background, but I completely understand. Let me help you with
apologies
the
about that.
the next session was the one that John and I are going to do, and we're probably going to add. Just I got so many lawyers in that mock hearing that the best lawyers. So this UDRP essentials session that we're doing, basically it says how to stay out of trouble and what to do if you're in it. So we just really John is the true expert of representing domain name investors. He just represented the owner of OLA.com. I mean, he's representing so many this last year, 16, I think 18. Um, he's defended domain investors and won every case and got couple reverse domain name hijacking. But bottom line, we're seeing more and more that trademark owners, just company owners, are going after great domain names. So that's what we're going to address with John. How can you avoid it? And if it does happen to you, what's your best to do there? Also, I think try to find a lawyer that's not on the other panel, but I think I'll probably have Jason Schaefer join us on this particular panel because John Berryhill and Jason Schaefer do this every single effing day. Okay, so this is all they do, and it's like who's got their finger on the pulse and who's handling a lot of cases. So we don't want to hear. Basically, there's some older lawyers I really like. They don't handle as many cases anymore. They're still very smart about domain name law, but we really want to make it timely and helpful. So anyway, John and I are going to do this UDRP Essentials, and we're going to have some special additions to that, and then the lunch, and you got the food trucks on the grounds. And as we go through the second half of day one, Ollie, then I certainly want you to spend some time on what's going on both evenings, because this is more of a, I mean, there's a lot of social events. This is more of, I want to say, a party names con than I've seen before. Perfect setting. It looks like we are going to have some great partying, not just these, learning sessions. So don't skip over the party on that first night. But so anyway, in the afternoon, tell us what's going on with this, the Brokers Insider with Jeff and Daniel and Mark.
Yeah, so that's a real sort of no fluff panel. These brokers showing insight on the front lines of the market, hear what types of names are like moving fast. Everyone knows Mark at Cedo, Daniel, Gabriel. Um, yeah, Gabriel's a new speaker that just came on. I know he's been speaking at previous names cons. He's a bit of an industry legend, so we're excited to have him come on board. Um, but I feel like this is going to be alongside the AI session and the domain, investing and portfolio building. I feel like this is going to be a big session. There's a lot of questions to answer. So yeah, we're excited for this one.
Yeah, I'll mention that, and then we're going to do more legal stuff. But basically, we're going to have a fun mock hearing where we're going to have uh, basically John's going to represent a domain owner who received a UDRP, and Jason Schaefer is going to be the lawyer representing the complainant. But we're going to make it really a learning session. So here's a mock trial, and then we have our panelists, Karen Bernstein, Jeff Newman, and if Zach Leskovich shows up, he'll be our third panelist. Otherwise, he's going to write something in. There's no, I'm still, I would say, cross my fingers because I want to see Zach there, but I can't imagine Zach and Nat Cohen, um, really very important people in the space, friends of mine that I want to see them there, but also I know they a lot to contribute, and I can't imagine them not being there representing the ICA. So I know a lot of people are like, I don't know if I can make it, and they're going to be there. This is going to be, I mean, when I was at this event last night, Ollie, listen, there's a ton of Web3 people that they're like going, and I hope somebody invited to the show today, they know, get your ticket before Friday. They say they're going for sure. You might as well save some money. But I'm noticing that people love the location. I mean, the destination. There's already a big number of domain investors in South Florida. Is probably more concentrated than any other place, and I just think it's going to be enormous turnout. But okay, so once we
Yeah,
do that bullshit with the UDRP showdown. Oh, by the way, yeah, so they corrected it UDRP. Yeah, they had URDP, and John was making fun of it, like, yeah, it's already a mock hearing. But anyway, so about this auction preview, tell us. So Drew Rosner's showing up, huh? He's coming from Portugal. He's going to be there. Did
yeah,
he confirm?
yeah. Andrew's coming, JT's coming. So yeah, they're going to go through some of the names that we'll have up on auction. So if you're not aware, Monty with Right at the Dot is going to run the auction with his team, 4 o'clock on the first day. But prior to that, Andrew and Jonathan are going to be going through some of the names and looking at, you know, what's valuable, what's a good name to have in the market these days. So yeah, some really good insights from those guys.
Yeah, and when does the auction list? I know Monty handles that, but I know he's putting it together. But give you any word about when they're going to start posting the names?
We are launching. I'm not sure if I can actually say exactly when, but we are launching in September for signups, and then names would be available come October, to be confirmed on exact dates.
And do you personally get a piece of the money from the auction? Just kidding. Hey,
It's not looking good.
well, Ollie, so before you talk about the parties in the evenings, but what's going on Wednesday night and Thursday night, what do you do when you're there? I mean, this is I haven't met you at a NamesCon, right? Is this your first NamesCon?
Yeah, this is actually my first NamesCon. So our entire team running CloudFest USA and NamesCon is brand new. So as a team, we've got tons and tons of events experience. I've got just shy of 10 years event experience myself. But in terms of this one, this is brand new. So we're excited for it. But yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy running around. Um, you know, asking. There's going to be lots of questions about everything from where do I go to how do I get on the app or how do I meet this speaker or where's the closest bar, all those kinds of questions. So I'm running around like a bit of a madman, but yeah, I mean, please, if you do see me, flag me down, stop me for a chat. Todd, I know we'll definitely catch up. Definitely at some point, whether it's at one of the mental parties or some little break. But um, but yeah, it's a full on experience running events, and it's chaotic, but it's controlled chaos, and we've been doing it for a long time. We're a pretty slick team, we think. We like to we like to say at least. So yeah, we're seriously excited. I mean, we're already putting together ideas for 26. We've got some big plans with the new owners. They're excited for this. We've seen a really good uptick in registrations really early, so it's been really promising. Yeah, and then as you mentioned, obviously the parties. Um, don't worry. If you do have a ticket or you do want to get a ticket, you will be actually doing some learning. And some real networking. It's not just a sort of free for all, but the big thing for us is like we want to make it a sort of B2B vacation. We want people to really get a chance to, you know, network and meet people in a completely informal way, which, when it boils down to it, that's how we think that the best sort of meetups work, is when you can sort of, loosen the tie, get to know people that way.
Yeah, Ollie, I had to tell Josh. I said it's not a freak off. We're just going down there to this event. You marry. Just kidding. I don't want to get Josh in trouble. Yeah, but hold on, Josh. I don't know if you have any, it may be any questions for Ollie, but Ollie, yeah, when people are asking to meet speakers, yeah, you tell them Todd doesn't talk to the public. Todd doesn't talk to anybody.
Oh no, no,
Okay,
no.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I can't. I'm looking forward to seeing so many friends and a lot of people a lot of friends that I meet here on X that I can't wait to see in person, so I can look at them and go, "Geez." I mean, try to clean yourself up a little bit. But no, it's going to be a good time. But Josh, so tell us something about you're looking forward to NamesCon. I mean, Josh, a lot of people can't wait to see you. I mean, at least I'm hearing that, and I'm thinking they say it to me like, "Is Josh?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's going to be there. It's no big deal. He's not, average guy." But Josh,
Well,
what are you looking forward to?
I hear Josh is a bit of a pickleball champion.
Yeah, he's
Uh, I'll ignore that, but yeah, the I'm looking forward to NamesCon. Miami's a good spot for me. I live in Florida, so uh, just a few hours drive down to Miami. Miami's a good spot as well. I think that it's a good spot for the conference. I'm so glad that NamesCon decided to change it up from Austin. Austin was cool, but it was definitely time to move on. Um, to be honest, I always liked it in Vegas, but if there was a second place to Vegas, I think Miami is up there. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm also excited to. I'm meeting up with the guys on my team at DNX, and so they're flying over. So it's going to be good to spend some time with them, and then just yeah, meeting people that I haven't met before. Over the last, I don't know, couple years or so, I don't think I've been to a NamesCon for 2 or 3 years. Um, I've met a lot more people, and I speak with a lot of them every day. So, getting a chance to meet them in person is going to be good. And you saying that there's a lot of people that want to meet me. I'm sure half of them want to. Half of them want to meet me for the right reasons, and the other half want to meet me for the wrong reasons. Probably want to beat me up or something. But yeah, no, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Josh, it is fun, and yeah, a lot of people they can't wait to see you and go, why do you think you're so smart? Anyway, I remember the very first time I did when I met Josh. It was like two dogs in a dog park. So he's sitting on the stairs at NamesCon in Austin, and I'm like walking by, probably smoking something outside at the time. I don't smoke anymore, but I was walking by, and I see him there, and then I just put my head on, so walking right towards him, like, yeah, I want to talk to you, and he's looking at me like I said, it's like two dogs, and he's looking like, what? What do you want?
I remember that
Yeah.
you were with were you with Kevin? Yeah.
Was I and doing something. But anyway, it was nice. I was like, hey, he's like, yeah.
I was like, damn, what are these crackheads like?
But Josh's trying to get some time by himself because people are rushing up on him all the time. So he's out by himself, just thinking, finding himself, sitting on some stair. I'm like, what are you doing? But and then since then we've been inseparable, and it's crazy. Okay, so but no, but it is fun. Finally you see folks that you talk with, you never get a chance to meet. It really is a good time, and I mean, I would say a lot of the folks, I love it. I hear people, yeah, I remember the first time we met over there. And, I'm like Tom Cruise. I make a great impression and really I don't care. But, the point is, it's fun seeing people in face to face. And I do look for people to come. I'm easy to, spot, I'm a bald headed guy. I look exactly like the pictures you see me online that I'm posting. So,
I mean, it's all like it's kind of awkward when you go to conferences, in my opinion. I'm not in person. I'm not like Todd. You can attest. I'm not the most social person in the world. When I'm doing like Sherpas and these spaces and stuff, and just putting myself out there, it's actually way out of my comfort zone. But and I think that when I first started going to conferences 10 years ago or whatever, it was even harder because I don't know. It felt a lot more clicky. It was still like the majority of the people were older guys, OG guys, um, and they just weren't really interested in talking to anyone that was new. Um, I feel like it's a lot more open now. I think that there's a lot more openness in the space, partially just due to the boom in like social media and stuff as well, right? It's like everyone gets to know each other online a little bit more. Um, So yeah, I like I said, it's just the sessions are great. I'm sure Names Khan and Ollie and the team are going to do a great job to have some great content. But for me, I'm just going there to meet the people and talk to people and see if I can learn something new. Really.
yeah, it is true. I was going to say, Ollie, before we talk, I want to ask you about the server throwing thing, and then the 2 evenings. What's going on really? At like what is happening on Wednesday and Thursday night? But I wanted to say first, yeah, there's a guy here, Jeremiah, out in the crowd. But I haven't seen Jeremiah for a couple years. When we were together in Austin like a couple years ago, well, we held hands and had our heads touching at lunch, and we didn't want anybody to bother us. And then all of a sudden he just leaves and never comes back to an event and never get to see him. And he lost a bunch of weight trying to impress me. Now he's gonna be back at NamesCon this year. So really can't wait to see Jeremiah. Hope he'll go for, I don't know, something romantic, us. So really looking forward to seeing this guy. But I know Zerk. I see Zerk lab. I cannot wait to see Zerk. I mean, this is going to be like we're not big guys, but we're going to be like sumo wrestling. I can't wait to give him a big hug. Okay, so I don't want to be serious with Zerk, but that's going to be a good time. I was saying Adam, who's always close up here on stage, he sold a Beguile. Hold on, hold on. Adam Masonette sold Beguile recently. We're going to talk about that in a second for 20 grand. So I wanted to meet Adam anyway, but I certainly want to meet him now, and I want Josh to distract him, and then I'm going to pickpocket him. So we got this plan, and we're so good at it that we can announce it in advance, and we're still going to, get with Adam. But no, I look forward to. There's so many folks I can't wait to meet, and then the few that I do plan on ignoring, they'll know too, because I can't wait to, give some people the cold shoulder. Okay, so but hey, Ollie, or I'm sorry, Josh, did you want to say something before I ask Ollie a couple of questions?
No, no, go ahead.
Hey, Ollie, so what's the server throwing championship? You guys have done this at CloudFest, but we're just
Yeah.
domainers. We don't know what that is.
Well, I'm glad you are domainers because you've got your own category. So that's all good. There's going to be a domainer throwing champion in Miami. Um, but yeah, you know what? It is actually as wacky as it sounds. It is literally throwing servers. So it started with the German team, Cloudfest, where they actually set up like a full association for server throwing. What started as a bit of a joke then became sort of folklore legend. Now they run it every year. They've been doing it for like close to close to 12 years now. But when I went over there in March for their Cloudfest event, I didn't actually take part in the throwing as such, but I did out of curiosity pick up one of these servers, and they're pretty heavy. They're if anyone's thinking of taking part, applications are now open. It's all on the website, but I would maybe hit the gym a little bit beforehand, just to prepare yourself. I was a little thrown off on how heavy it was.
Ollie, you say that, and I saw a video. This one woman, I don't know if she was German or not, but she was throwing this server, and I was like, I might have to pass. It's like a disc. It's like she's throwing a shot put, and she was a lot tougher than me. I thought, server throwing. I'm like I said, we're domainers. All our stuff is light, digital. But no, I look forward. So before, and I'll remind everybody at the end of today's show, we go for, like I said, a couple hours, and I appreciate you being here, Ollie. But so what is sort of the setup for night one? When we have these great sessions, and there's great sessions. Maybe next week I'll go through some a session on the second day because there's some really great stuff there and a lot of good friends that are on stage, especially at the end of the day on day two with you just mentioned Aaron Mystad, who he lives out here in California. I really like Aaron. Every time he's got great stuff to share. But most importantly, I'll just say quickly, is he was one of the first ones to do fractionalization. We're going to talk a little bit about the new way to fractionalize names by tokenizing. But he was one of the first ones to do that with the three letter, and he spent all sorts of time and money with lawyers trying to make sure that he could, not break some security laws, and he had just so much information, and then of course a lot of us like feast on it like vultures. So you spend all the money on lawyers, and what they tell you, we wanted to get the info from you. But Adam has great information, and he's with Richard Lau. So what a great session that's going to be. A couple guys that are just fucking flat out smart. So I look forward to that. But so Ollie, what is happening day one once the sessions are done? The day's not over. It's we all get together. What's the social event on Wednesday?
Yeah, so it's a party on the festival grounds. So we're really running with the festival theme. Um, we're gonna have a live band up on a stage. We'll have sort of entertainers in and amongst the crowd, um, really sort of keeping everyone sort of on their toes and whatnot. There's open bar. It's yeah, it's all meant to sort of keep the party going. Is the whole vibe. So yeah, the festival grounds is basically the lawn area of the Ice Palace Studios. So as soon as you step out of the sort of expo rooms or conference rooms, you're going straight into the festival grounds. So you'll be greeted with a drink, maybe a hug. It's all a good vibe.
Kimberly, she's a broker. We were talking about that last night about, geez, when these domainers, there's a lot of type A guys there, and I said, you give them some booze, and boy, oh boy, I mean, they can really, everybody's real smart and a big timer. But anyway, we were laughing, and I didn't know. So you got an open bar night one. This ought to be great. I know a lot of these guys in this room are drunks, so they're gonna have a good time. I can't wait for that. Hey, Josh, does your
It's
wife
going to
let
be
you
good.
drink?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you're probably leaving her at home that time. I'm bringing my wife. At least at this point, she's going with me. But she tried to back out at the last minute.
I would bring her if I could. It's just we got 3 children. Someone's got to look after them.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Ollie, thanks for joining us. A lot of the Europeans, a lot of the people that are probably the people that are running NamesCon now. Are these mostly people from the States? Because I know CloudFest, you had people from all over the world were really running it. But what about NamesCon, the new team?
Yeah, don't let my accent throw you off. I'm from England, but I now live in the US. So we have a fully dedicated US team. So I've luckily for me, I've got dual citizenship. So I've lived in the US full time for like 2 years now, and got picked up by the team about a year ago. But yeah, we're a full US team. Previously, it has been run by our German colleagues, but yeah, with the new owners coming on, they thought best to have uh, a full dedicated US team.
Well, seriously, thanks
Where
for.
where are you where are you based, Ollie?
I'm now based in Philadelphia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a pretty. So wait till you see JT, right? Jonathan Tenenbaum. He'll be like, "Oh my God, we're brothers. We're brothers from where another Eagles mother." He can't get enough of it. He hadn't been in Philly. He moved out 40 years ago. He still acts like he's from there. I can't wait to see JT too. I'm gonna. We were gonna have like a wrap off sometime, and it's gonna be offensive, believe me, because the rap that I have is it's basically, I don't even, certainly not going to be, I won't be invited back. We'll say that. But yeah, I look forward to seeing JT. I can't believe you're in Philly, Ollie. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought you were over in Derbyshire, something like that. How they say, we say Shire here because we're hillbillies. So we'll say Shire. But yeah, okay, well, anyway, Ollie, certainly, now's when we're going to start promoting NamesCon because a lot of us are going to be there. We look forward to it, but now the promotion heats up. So you're welcome back anytime, especially over as the agenda just keeps evolving. But there's so many people part of it. Will come back anytime. But it was important for us to share today. The early bird ticket prices. The last is tonight. There's an increase tomorrow. So go to namescon.com. Use code SPEAKER20. You're going to get the better price plus 20% off. And then we'll see you November 5th and 6th in Miami. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, Ollie, thanks a lot. Any final parting words?
no, thanks a lot for having me, Todd. I appreciate the time. Sorry I haven't been on more regularly. It's quite hard with our schedule having sort of constant meetings back and forth. So no, I appreciate it. But yeah, as Todd said, the price is going up. Now's a great time to get a ticket. If you don't, Todd very kindly shared with you a discount code, so that it's Speaker20. It's all caps, all capitalization. Speaker20. Yeah, it's basically use it or lose it. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and take care.
Yeah, Ollie, thanks for always. I see you, the NamesCon account, and I see you around. Basically, you're you're a tough guy. You don't do it anonymously. You just come in and spy and go, what are you guys talking about? But I know I see you in a lot of my spaces and in some of the others. So it's nice having you part of the community. I really look forward to hanging out too and having some laughs down there. So I know we will. But all right, then I'll see you around here. Josh, I wanted to get to, well, Adam's sale. I don't know. Adam can share anything. I'm going to invite that son of a bitch up here uh, right now. He'll run away now. Adam was like, no, I'm busy. Busy fucking looking for the wire to come in. Anyway, we'll see if he joins us, but it doesn't matter, Adam, because we just move on. But Adam sold Beguile, Beguile. I just remember it. I can't see the program for 20 grand. Said he had it. Well, Adam, thanks a lot for being here. But tell us about. Did you have this like 11-month hold? And that's a pretty cool name to pick up. Nice to see you. What's up?
Hey, good afternoon. Just hanging out. It's good to be talking up here with you. Yeah, that sale. I like the name, and it's funny because I recently changed my strategy with some of my higher, medium, and high price names. I had most of my names listed as just buy it now, and that was one of the names that I added make offer to. And with a lot of the names, I rounded them up higher. So that way I had the ability to bargain down on the price and still end up at the price that I wanted, but giving them the satisfaction of thinking, or they do get a lower price than what was initially offered. So that name I had listed for basically $25,000, and the potential buyer at the time came in at 17.5, and I think my minimum was around 14,000 that they could open with. So they opened higher than the minimum offer. This allowed the GoDaddy broker, to start working on it, which is great because that's a lot of times they'll just look at a price and say no, when in reality they might have actually bought the name if they talked to someone and had someone convince them of it, or come down on the price a little bit. So the GoDaddy broker came back a couple times. He was having a hard time with them, but he worked them up to 20K, and that was good enough for me. So in this situation, the make offer worked good because I don't think they would have bought it at 25, and I was fine selling it at 20.
Great story. I wanted to ask, do you always, I do this and I think it's helpful, but Adam, do you give a, here's your price and then lower the floor and, I mean, have a floor price. So you give the broker, that's one of their biggest tools is to have a little bit of room to move. And if you do, what percentage less is your floor than your buy it now normally?
I never put a floor price on my names. I just have the minimum offer, and then I just play it by ear on there. But usually the minimum offer is going to be, you know, maybe close to what the floor would have been. But I don't put a floor because I don't want a sale to be made without me agreeing to it if it's not at my buy it now price. So, I want to kind of, when I get the sale offer, I'm going to, make offer on it. I'm going to look around and see if there's anything going on with that name. Maybe I find out there's a new company that registered for a trademark, or, or there's something in the news about it. Of course, if they do buy it now, I don't have that option, but at least this gives me the ability to see if I do want to come down on a name at that time, or if I'm going to, hold firm. I've done that before. I've had somebody come in at the make offer for less, and then I was kind of looking around, and I said, no, I'm keeping this at the buy it now. I'm not going to accept any lower offers, even though I had make offer on, and they took the buy it now at the highest price. So doing a floor kind of takes it out of my hands, and I don't really know if the broker will take the floor without asking me first. I haven't really used that option. If they ask you first, then floor might be okay. But if they don't ask you, and maybe it's a broker by broker basis, that's a little too risky for me.
Yeah, interesting that you do it that way, Adam. I really like it. And they do. They will just, if you put a floor in there, that's just eliminating the phone call to you. And they will, most brokers will just try to get a deal done without talking with you. Josh, I don't even use that strategy. Do you, Josh? Not, what do you think about that? Not putting in a floor just to make offer. And then if they either buy it at the buy now or the broker has to call you. Do you like that strategy and do you utilize that strategy?
Not putting in a floor. Yeah, like 99 or 95% of my names don't have floor prices on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to buy it now with make offer enabled. Actually, I mean, like, make offer is automatically enabled with after nicknames, right? So it's like everyone has make offer. Like, even if you don't have a make offer on your landing page, like, in order to remove make offer on Afternic, you essentially need to make the minimum offer the same amount as your buy it now price.
I did not know that. Adam, is that how you see it too? I didn't know. I thought if you don't have a make offer price, people could still make an offer.
Yeah, I've always done the same. I've always made my minimum the same price as my buy it now. So I never experienced that, but that's a little crazy. I mean, Josh, if you choose the buy it now without the make offer landing page, will it still put make offer on the page? if you don't.
No, no, it won't put make offer on a page. So like I don't have make offer on most of my pages, but I still get offers on them. Just I guess I don't know how, but buyers seem to find ways to make offers.
Yeah, I've gotten make offer on names that I've had only buy it now too. My guess is they contact them directly after Nick or GoDaddy and ask them about it, or maybe through a partner. Maybe partners allow make offer. I have no idea, but they do come in every so often.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've reached out to you, Adam. If I recommended you to be a bit speaker at NamesCon only because you're right in the trenches too. And so, Adam, how many names do you have now?
I mean, I don't have a big portfolio. I only have about a little over 800 names, and been buying. I bought my first domain names back early 2000, but I wasn't really an investor back then. I saw the inherent value of the names because I was creating websites and I was looking for names and I was finding it difficult. I couldn't believe that some names that I was searching for, even back then, weren't available. So, I kind of did a little more research and I saw that, some of these names were selling for a lot. So, but ultimately, when I was buying names back then, at first, I was just trying to buy mostly names that I could run a website on. And back then, I was doing the entertainment, humor, joke. So a lot of my early names that are single word kind of represent that, like, whoops.com and snitch.com, realms.com, kind of a game oriented name. Um, corrupt.com. So, those were the kind of names that I was looking for back then. And, and I knew that a lot of these names would go up in value, but I wasn't trying to look for other names at first. Eventually I did branch out and do more, but it was always kind of a side thing for me. I was really into focused on affiliate marketing. So that was my main income source. So domains were just kind of a side thing for me. If I felt like it, I'd go out and look and I'd buy some names and then get back to grinding on affiliate marketing and then go back to domains for a little bit. But I never had any. I wasn't really actively trying to sell names. I was just putting them on Cedo with make offer only, and so the sales didn't come in very often. But I made sales here and there, and then only I think around when COVID started did I decide I would actively start listing my names and putting prices on, which was a whole nother learning experience because I had to learn how to price names, and it's still a work in progress. I'm still trying to determine what the best price for names are, and even just trying to find out what names are best to go for now that I'm branching out into different type of names. But it's been a lot of fun, and I see it more as a hobby for me. I enjoy doing it, and if I make money from it, it's good. But I also see it as an investment that I don't mind holding on to these names for a long time since I'm not in a rush to sell them anytime soon.
I was asking, I was wondering if Josh, hey, Adam, you're just good. I mean, you could have 800 names and to have any sales, any five-figure sales. Us domainers that have been doing it a long time, to go over 10,000, have a sale that's in five figures is just, in my opinion, and I know Josh is going to go, I don't know, exponentially harder than, so I get these four figure, even if it's in the high four figures, but as soon as somebody has to spend over 10,000, it just seems to just be much more difficult. And to have a portfolio that's less than 1,000 names and to have as frequent sales as you do, and I'm not saying, I know you're not selling, you have some weeks, some months where it's slow, but you've really, done a fantastic job. When I see what names you've sold and the prices, I'm always like, geez, what a great name. And you said Beguile, for example. You picked that up, what, just in the last year? And it is a weird name. I like it, but definitely not used a lot, but yet it's a single word, Beguile.com. Where did you pick that up, and what's the price range you paid for that?
I bought that from Drop Catch Auctions, and I paid 24.75 for it. So I did get a little less than times 10 on it. But I've that word I come from a gaming background, and I don't know if anyone's played Dungeons and Dragons. I think there was a spell called Beguile. So anytime I see a term like that brings me back to my gaming days. And I know there are other people like that too who are interested in it. But the reason I picked it up is because I thought it'd be a great brand name for like a perfume or something. And I think that's exactly who bought it. I'm pretty sure it's a perfume company that runs on shopbeguile.com. That's who I think bought it. I guess I'll find out. But yeah, there's not a lot of companies that use it, so it was a little risky. It's not a high usage term, but I just really liked it, and I thought that it would sell eventually, and it did. For every name I do that does sell, I have plenty that I'm still holding on to that haven't sold yet. So because I'm not on the quick flip strategy, I don't mind. And for now I see, names just going up in price. There's just more demand. Things are changing a lot with AI, so who knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years. But, I just like phone numbers are still used. I don't see domain names going away anytime soon. And, .com still holds the top spot by far. AI does great, .ai, but, .com is always the first choice.
So great stuff. Thanks for sharing. I wanted to say Summit and Darcy are in the chat being wise guys. No, they were talking about snitch.com, that some Indian company had purchased it. Did they buy that from you, and was it $100,000?
Yeah, that's the name I've had for a long time. I mean, I bought that back in I think 2004 for $2,500. And I ran a site on that. That's why I bought it. I ran a celebrity gossip auto blog on it that basically, took articles from other sites, other celebrity blogs, but I didn't publish the articles, because I didn't want to copy all their stuff. I did is I publish an excerpt from each, and then they click on it and it actually takes them to their site. So they wanted me to run their feeds on my site because they were getting traffic. And of course I ran ads on the site. And I had the site for several years, and like most of the entertainment sites back then, things changed. YouTube came out. People weren't really going to sites for funny pictures anymore or jokes. Now they needed to be entertained by videos. So I shut that down, and I never ran another site on it. Although I've always considered it. I always think about starting up a new site on one of my names, but then I think about I'm probably just going to half-ass it. And these days you can't really half-ass stuff. There's just so much competition. It's not like back in the early 2000s. I felt like it was so easy to run a successful website back then, and it's a lot harder now. So when somebody wanted to buy that name, and I sold it, I mean, I tried to get them up to 125. They wouldn't. And I'm like, you know what, 100's fine for the name. And I had two theories on who it was. That Indian company was one of them, and then there was some another company, I think on the .io, that that was my first choice that I thought bought it, but ended up being the Indian company. But I don't know what they're doing with it. It's kind of strange because if you go to the site, it looks like it's just formatted for phones. It's like they didn't have a full-sized version of the webpage when you go to it. Actually, I'm trying to go to it now, and there we go. Yeah, so if you look at it, it just looks like the size of a phone screen. So I really don't know what they were doing, because the old site was a full screen website, and this site is just it says Snitch is better on the app. But then if you look at this, it's made for phones, and that's it. So it's a strange strategy that they're doing, and the .co.cn just tells you to go to snitch.com. So very strange.
I've made a terrible living off doing half-ass stuff, so I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, I would have outbounded Snitch to Sammy the Bull, fucking guy. Anyway, I hated John Gotti. I hate those kind of gangsters now. The the Rips and the Bloods. Okay, so I'm cool with them, but no, I always hated gangsters because people just admire. They love Scarface and the movies and stuff like that, and I always hated like those guys, tough guys, John Gotti, Sammy the Bull. Talk about it, snitch. But I think, yeah, I was looking at that website too. No, unbelievable. But I was talking about with Braden last night. He was talking about big big sales. It still happens. They don't develop anything unbelievable, and people, we know it from the domain space. Number one, well, Braden and I were talking about developing out sites and people thinking that's going to help them sell something. And never, seldom does the person that you think is going to buy the site. Now, it does happen, like in your case, you sort of thought it might be this, Max, could you cut it out? Um, you thought it might be that Indian company, and they did in fact buy it. But I said most of the time it's not who you think is going to buy your site, so there's no reason building. And then of course the other thing us domain investors know, people will spend a big amount on a site and not even build on it, and other people can't believe it. And we're like, hey, at least they took possession of the damn thing. You can't expect them to do anything. Hey, Samit, thanks for joining us. What did you know about the snitch.com? Tell us, snitch a little. Tell us what you know about that.
I'll tell you about the Indian company. It's worth about, so right now it's a 6-year-old company. Started just before COVID. This company, it's a specific format made for Instagram types, where 90% of their buyers would be possibly mobile based, maybe more. That's why the site is formatted the way it is. They have opened stores now because they've got funding. I don't know exactly how much, but I think it's about 100 million or somewhere in that range, and maybe a little less actually. But they're doing pretty well. So what they do is they come out with a new fashion line weekly, and they manufacture on order. So they have low inventory, low wastage, low returns, and stuff gets sold out pretty much 100% because it's only being made to order, right? So specific size, specific design, and maybe they'll make a few extra because there's a minimum amount of runs when it comes to clothes. So maybe they'll make a few extra, but they already have the demand keyed in before they start manufacturing. And I guess it's working for them. 100K actually is very reasonable if you ask me. I think it's a good sale. I'm glad that they're using it and they're buying it. Not many Indian companies uh, have the intelligence to do that. I'm sorry for using the word intelligence, but I guess that's what it boils down to. There's been an INDRP filed on a .in, where the .com is probably available for a similar range, maybe 100, 200,000. And the company that's filing the INDRP is worth a few $billion. So I wish Indian companies had a little more brains and, use those brains to constructive stuff instead of doing BS like that. But it's okay. It is what it is.
Well, thanks. Then, yeah, don't use the word intelligence in here. We try to steer clear of any of that in this room. Hey, Adam, so you were like a Perez Hilton, huh? That was you, huh? This guy, Adam, he's the lovely place.
He was one of my the streams that I had on my site, so I remember that site. I remember all those. What would Tyler Durden do? Perez Hilton, all those sites.
I know this crap. Hey, so I think you're the one that broke the story, Pamela and Tommy Lee's sex tape. Just kidding. I don't know why I say just kidding, like it's like
Oh
funny.
yeah.
Hey, all right, so we're going to go for another 50 minutes here. If anybody, we're domain investors. If you want to come up, ask Josh a question, Adam, why he's still here. I think it's great, Adam. I just can't believe, I say domain investing is not shooting fish in a barrel, but when you have a portfolio really manageable like yours, and we all hear, and I heard you say to Ish, about how many names you had, so I sort of knew before I asked the question. It's like a lawyer. Only ask questions we know the answers to. And, it's so difficult to have. I mean, really, that's the best thing. If you could build a portfolio of just some great stuff and have a limited portfolio. But we know some folks who have just a few hundred names, great names, but the sales are few and far between because of the pricing. So, hey, Josh, what do you think about? So if you spent $2,500 on a name, pricing at 25, makes sense. It's still 10 times, and you're not being greedy, and you're being a smart, basically. I mean, basically, it's like smart investing, because a lot of us, we buy stuff for, 200, and then we price it at 90,000, and we just sit and wonder, how come I can't sell anything? So what do you think about that pricing, Josh? When you buy something for 2,500, where do you price it at?
Around that range. I have pricing buckets. Um, my buckets are it's mostly 4,888, 9,888, 19,988, 29,988, and then 50,000, and then 75,000, and 100,000, and then up from there it ranges. But um, and that's quite common. A lot of other domainers with larger portfolios will have buckets that they assign their names into. But yeah, I mean, I bought a couple names for 5K over the last couple days. I priced them both at 50K. Um, Obviously, it depends on the name and whether you got a good deal, a stellar deal, or a bad deal. Or like the pricing is fairly independent. But yeah, I would say that for the most part, I'm looking for around a 10x. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, if I buy a name for $200, unless I've just like stumbled on the most amazing like gold mine of all time that and just got exceptionally lucky, I'm probably pricing that name at like 5K.
yeah. I mean, that's unusual. I mean, sort of a goofy question I asked, because you could think, well, I really overpaid for this name or underpaid for this name that I spent 2,000 on. So if you think I got a great deal on this name 2,000, I can understand still pricing a great name that you bought for 2,000 for 50,000. Um, if anybody can help with information about, I know Aaron, who owns AI.now, apparently sold it yesterday. I didn't listen into a room that he had, and I don't think it was recorded. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But anybody knows any details about that? I thought it was like a,
He sold it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he sold it for 25 grand.
Was that
So
16,000 to purchase? And I've had it less than a year, but I forget, was it 12,000, 16 grand? I mean, I'd like,
yeah, yes, around 16 or 17 grand was the registration cost and the renewal. I didn't listen into the space. Obviously, I'm in the UK, and the time didn't match up for me. But um, I don't know. I guess there was a lot of chatter. I don't know whether the buyer knew it was knew what the registration cost is, but that's not Aaron's problem. I think that's a good sale, a good flip.
interesting you say that, but so I don't know. I'd like to hear the details on, so did he sell it um, directly to somebody? And if he did, I mean, he talked with them. I'm sure he would almost, he's such a nice guy that he
It
would,
came through a spaceship inquiry, so someone made an offer from spaceship.
yeah, well, that's pretty cold when someone doesn't know the renewal price. I'm not saying, to me, I
I
mean, I
don't
think
think
it's
that's up to the seller to disclose. Do you?
well, I think the platform needs to, maybe not the seller,
Yeah.
but the platform needs to, because just like buying anything. So the seller lists it. I believe it's more of the platform's obligation, because the seller, right, we don't even get to speak to the potential buyers. But if you're
Yeah,
buying
100%.
it through
I
it,
agree with you.
yeah, because it's weird. That's just so much. You're thinking, huh? Well, that's not fair. And then who do you go to? Of course, the
Yeah,
seller.
yeah, yeah. I mean, someone's obviously dropping 25 grand on that, and then not knowing that in 5 months' time or 6 months' time they got to drop another 17 and then do it again a year after that. It's kind of crazy.
When, especially when they want to transfer it to their own registrar, you give them the auth code, and they're like, "Oh shit!" I mean, in some registrars are 20,000 probably for the renewal. I knew
If you
Pay.now
don't, you,
was
you're like, what is this glitch?
Pay.now had the $21,000 price to buy, I guess, and 21,000 renewal. Yeah, it's like just it's just too steep. It doesn't matter. You think it's great and you want, but just so steep for other extensions, and then people, buyers, investors can't help but say, relate it to what VeriSign does with .com, and they don't know that VeriSign's limited and restricted or whatever to only increase prices a little bit each year, and they're right now at say $11. So when you compare it and you think, I mean, it's just way too much, even if your company can afford it. Just as like, gee, that's yeah, anyway.
Spaceship has a new platform, right? So if they haven't disclosed that, um, what's going to happen is like over time they're going to have to, because they're going to get, you know, rampant complaints from buyers that are essentially going to say, "Give me my money back." This is not what I was expecting. So they're going to have to disclose that if they're not already.
I was doing something at DNX, Josh, and I clicked on a name I was going to buy, and it easily said it. I can't even remember. Does that happen at all three of the places that you're messing with? After Nick, what do you got? After Nick, Adam, and did you say what was the other one?
Yeah.
Cedo. So they pretty much say right then when we're buying it, here's your price. I noticed, and here's your renewal price. Right? I'm correct, or
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't think Cedo. I'm not sure Cedo actually discloses renewal, do they? I'm pretty sure they don't. GoDaddy does. GoDaddy absolutely does. You're gonna know because they include the renewal. They force you to add a year renewal in your cart. So but yeah, maybe Cedo doesn't.
interesting.
I guess Atom probably doesn't either.
I don't know, and it seems like boy, that talk about anyway. Everybody wants the new GTLDs or just other extensions to be popular. Is there any CCTLDs? Well, I guess I answer my own question. .ai has a weird, it's $1.50 or whatever it is. I mean, $75 per year, and you'd have to do it for 2 years, I guess. But there was, I believe, anyway. I was thinking, so the CCTLDs can have these unusual renewals, not low. Yeah, that
Yeah.
it,
Dot WS has some crazy renewals. I think going up to $1 million for a single letter. Dot WS, or some emojis are also 300 grand, 400 grand. That's the only CCTLD I've seen with premium renewals.
remember last night Ish was there, and uh, Braden was talking about owning a bunch of .ws names. I don't know. He wasn't bragging, believe me. He was just saying he owns WS. And I told Ish, I said, you know what that stands for, right? Wow, sucks. Okay, so
Yeah,
a
Braden's talked about those a lot in the past. I think those maybe are the ones that he got burned on the most in his domain career.
a about Paul Nix posted. I guess I saw Richard Kirkendall at Namecheap. You saw that posted. Hey, there's these 7 AI sales, and then Paul comes in and says like, yeah, 5 of them were through Afternic because people brought it up. Somebody brought up that it looked like they were on Afternic or GoDaddy servers. I don't know. I mean, I'm so slow. I can't figure it out. But what were they saying,
Long
Josh?
story short is that they're beefing pretty hard right now. So my understanding is that they fell out because space spaceship when spaceship applied for fast transfer um within the Afternic network. I believe that Go GoDaddy had recently changed their policies for new participants, and some of the new rules uh, that they were putting in place was not something that Namecheap were used to. And because Spaceship is obviously a new registrar, they were essentially getting a different deal. And I think it has something to do with when they lose domains, um, when a domain sells through Afternic and goes to one of those registrars, they have to pay a fee. That's my understanding. And then obviously, I think this prevented Richard from wanting to move forward with Spaceship going becoming a fast transfer partner. And instead of doing that, that's when they decided to build out Seller Hub. So because of that friction, they ended up building out Seller Hub, and then obviously Seller Hub is clean. I mean, Spaceship is clean. Looks like they're doing a good job building Seller Hub. Domainers seem to really like it. There's a lot of people moving their names there. And I think the other day, Richard kind of poked the bear a little bit by saying, you know, thanks to GoDaddy for declining Spaceship as a fast transfer partner. You allowed us to build this, great product in Seller Hub. And that post, I guess, like from the domain perspective, went kind of viral. Pretty snarky comment towards GoDaddy. Maybe I don't know. That I think that kind of like started it, and then this response was from Paul was probably due to that. That's my understanding. If anyone wants to come up and add more context or tell me where I may have slipped up, please do.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from some people. We're going to be doing this for another 35 minutes, and I'm, as Jackson Brown would say, running on empty. Just kidding. I could do this all motherfucking day. Hey, Aaron, we were just talking, this laser guy, Laser AI, I call him Aaron. We were just talking about your sale. I didn't get to be there part of the room yesterday, so if you have a chance, give us some
Maybe
details.
maybe he'll come up.
Yeah,
Aaron will come up.
and tell us, did we were talking, did the buyer, was he made aware of the renewal? Not that it was your responsibility, but maybe the platform renewal. And then also, there's other folks I wanted to hear from. Ish, I'd like to hear what you thought about last night. I wanted to see the picture of me and you and Braden because, like I said, we'll never be getting together again after that.
Here he is. The
Hey,
man himself.
Aaron, tell us what happened yesterday. Take a break. Missed out.
Yo, I just got out of the shower. I felt so dirty. No, I actually just showered though, for real. No, seriously, I did just get out of the shower. It was a little overdue, but no, good sale. I don't know. Just happy to get it done.
Well, I mean, so were they aware? But tell us just about, so we know you registered it, you had it less than a year, so you got out of it before you had to renew it. Fantastic, because that really makes a big difference, especially did you register it? Tell us real fast, 16 grand, then you sold it for 25, so you came out smelling good. Haha, right?
Yeah, I've told other people, sometimes you have to strike when the iron's hot. Sometimes a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, or worth two in the bush. So, but it may go undeveloped. Who knows? But yeah, just strike when the iron's hot.
Okay, so two metaphors right there, pretty good. Bird in the hand. You got another one for us, or are you fucking freshening up with your deodorant right now? All right, so he's pretty slick. He's doing jokes now, Aaron is, I noticed. The guy's really coming into his own here on X. He's got spaces, he pops up all the time and acts like he's just wanted to talk to a few of you, and then he's really trying to take everybody's job here. Okay, so, hey, but thanks for...
No, I saw you were at D3 yesterday, Todd. I saw Ish's pictures or something. I saw you were at D3.
Yeah, I didn't see Ish's pictures yet. I can't wait to see that, but yeah, that's right, Aaron. I was there.
Todd is literally Todd's like the domain industry host of everything now.
Yeah.
Can't stop him.
I'm rude too. You should see me. I was talking with Fred, and I said this guy Byron.
He's the nicest guy in person. He just puts a tough act up on Spaces. When you see him in person, it's like the warmest, nicest guy.
That's untrue. And anyway,
hey, I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to say thanks to Josh for a couple .nows him and I traded, or he sold to me. So Thank you, Josh. No, I'm being sincere. You're doing a laughing emoji, but no, thank you.
Thank you.
No, you're saying thank you because all these people are like selling far worse .nows for a lot more money at the moment. So you're like you kind of got one over on me on that one, I think.
Hey, I mean, just like AI.now, deal's a deal. It's done. It's over with. That's all I got.
No, man. I was honestly, I think that was good for both of us. I hope you sell them for a ton of money.
You got to strike while the idiot's
No, I
drunk.
appreciate that.
He's like, he can't believe he got over on. Now he's really going to be walking tall, Josh, knowing, yeah. And I think he was telling people I robbed Josh. He was saying the other day, and he goes, this room isn't recorded. So, but Ish, what'd you think of last night? Pretty cool. I mean, a lot of Web3 people there, and they were the ones that were really interested more in domains than the Web2, because Web2, we're still trying to figure out, are we Web1 or Web2? Remember people, but what do you think of the little LA meetup at the D3 Dev event last night?
It was perfect. I had a good time. Considering it's like 2 blocks from where I live, I jogged over there, got there, good food. Saw Braden, saw you, saw Fred, a couple of familiar faces. Um, I had a good time. I saw Kevin McKim. We had a good chat, and I thought that it was well put together, and you did a great job as usual. Just sort of like explaining the vision behind DomainFi and Doma and what Fred and the team are trying to put together. And I had a good time because I was interacting with the guys from Azuki, just reminiscing on how much fun we all had in 2021, and we thought those times will last forever. We're just buying and selling all type of NFTs, and just pretty much like reminiscing on those good old days. And I was able to explain how I found more sustainability with digital assets and domains, and those guys really enjoy that conversation. Yeah, but I had a good time, man. I always like intimate gatherings like that because you're able to, you know, make more out of the time versus when it's too many people, too little time. So I was honored and pleased to be there. Definitely a good use of my time, and I'm grateful to D3 because they seem to be doing this type of events more frequently, especially in my neck of the woods. I'm all for it.
Easy as pie for you to get over there. But Ish, I agree that one, the gentleman from anime.com, he didn't, we didn't ask him, maybe it was public, what they spent on that. But right, they launched that Azuki coin as well. And they were just, things seem to be going good. I mean, money wise, they're building on anime.com. Fred is going to help them get, apply and hopefully successfully acquire the extension .anime, and they got their community all set up. And I know, from what Fred said, they're going to start offering these names, pre, you know, even before they successfully get the extension. So it's sort of like a pre-registration. But I really liked hearing what they're doing. They're like busting their ass over at that company. I was saying, you heard me, us domainers, shit, we like to buy a name and go to bed and wake up and go, did it sell? And then go back to bed. They're not building all sorts of stuff. They're really building on these names. But Byron, who owns Anime, he's like, why do you want to buy it? I'll quick flip it. He's learning about domain investing, and he's like, we've been buying so many names for our platform that as soon as they think of like a little project, so he's like, now we got like 60, but he's like, but we think we're going to build on them, and then we're really just acquiring. And I'm like, that's all of us. That's what we all do. Act like we're going to build. But yeah,
Amazing! It's amazing what you can do with other people's money, hey?
yeah, no shit. And D3, speaking of other people's money, but if you can, you can raise the money. But what a nice, merch room. He had a lot of, what do they call it, Ish? Um, what do they call it?
Freebies. We
Yeah,
call it
but
freebies.
that no, but that
Goodies.
special word that's I forget the name of it. You guys would know. I mean,
Swag.
swag, yeah. The cool people
Swag,
say
yeah,
it.
that's the
Swag.
right
I
word.
can't
Yeah.
remember the swag. Yeah, that came in too. We were like the old people stuff when they give a pin at a thing. It was just like marketing things, and then all of a sudden swag. We're like, yeah, with the bag and stuff. But no, it was cool. Yeah, and Braden pretty funny. Right, as soon as he gets there, we get there and they show him the swag room. He puts on his shirt, and they're like, I said, he's like Eddie Murphy trading places. This is my ashtray. Okay, I'll take this. He just starts putting shit on, walks around like, and they're like, all right, yeah, you can have as much as you want, Braden and Susan. And this Kareen was looking at each other like, I guess he's taking all that stuff. Yeah, pretty fun. But no, I like it is fun seeing a bunch of domainers. I was going to say this was unusual. A lot of Web3 people there, and as I mentioned, the Web3 folks are like, so what do you buy? Where do you sell it? They want to know. And the cool thing I think about D3 that I like the most of all the personnel that I met, and I talked with quite a few of them, really like Daryl and Ender and Zach, this young kid. A lot of them, they're not from the domain space, and I said that's smart. All these people that are here from the domain space, I said, I don't know, you guys probably could do without them, but there's so much history with people that are in the domain space. They go from this company to that company to that company. They got some fresh voices or fresh people there that are like, listen, I didn't know about. I talked with the gentleman yesterday morning before I went to that thing. His name's Nishant. He handles some stuff for D3. He's out in Dubai, but he's like, I didn't know what a registrar was a month ago, and I'm like, yeah, you sound qualified. Well, he a really slick guy, builder over, dealing with the builders. He's trying to find people that want to build on, the Doma protocol. But this other young kid, Zach, he's like, yeah, I started here a month ago. No, I didn't even know what domains were. But he was asking me the best questions about, okay, if we were, if you guys were building um, a funding layer with domain fund on Doma protocol, how would that? What do you know so much for? Back away. I was telling him about, that idea of managing a domain fund, and we'll talk about that in the future too. But let me ask you, Josh. Well,
I have a hot take on that, by
yeah,
the
yeah,
way.
that's
I
what I wanted to
think
ask you.
that
Domain fund. I think there's something there. It's really there's different ways to set it up, but okay, in a nutshell, so people listen. Just like a mutual fund. So you're not buying one domain or one stock. You're buying a group of them, and then you have there obviously more activity, hoping for cash flow. But what cash flow? But what are you thinking about domain fund? Anybody else want to come up and chime in on it too? Come
well,
on up.
just real quick, like about what you were talking about previously. I mean, these guys are trying to do some of the most innovative things in the domain space, and I guess to say it like fairly bluntly, as I usually do, I find it quite hard to believe that without any kind of domain knowledge or experience, you're going to be able to, you know, provide, I guess, steer the product in a direction that makes sense for these kind of things. I think that that's going to be hard. I mean,
Can I push back a
obviously,
little bit on that? Look,
well,
as
let me
someone,
just finish. Let me just finish
no, of
one
course,
point,
of course, go ahead.
uh, and then definitely push back because there's definitely counterpoints to that as well that I would probably agree with. But obviously, like there is Fred and other guys that are leading the team that know an awful lot about the market and an awful lot about domains. Um, but still, I just feel like what they're trying to do is extremely complex within the industry that we know is quite hard to navigate. Go ahead.
I think your point is super valid that they do need some education, but I'll tell you this. As someone who's had exposure to both worlds, and I think Domain Shane will agree with this, there are a lot of similarities. I think this is why some people would say domains are the original NFTs. It's a different culture, but those similarities are where I think there's a lot of opportunity. Because even in the room yesterday, the questions that I was being asked were more out of genuine curiosity. Like we talked about, oh, what a mint was and how it's the same as, how domains are one of one versus like a collection where you have a floor price. And these people are very intelligent people. They're not like your traditional, Wall Street conservative investors. They're very risk averse. And, there are a lot of things that I think has helped me in my domaining journey, because of my exposure to NFTs and crypto in general. Like they have a different view and take on the world, and these are serious emerging asset classes. I was having a conversation with Luca Netz yesterday, founder of Pudgy Penguins. I was trying to pitch him on Chain.ai, and he made me an offer. Even though we didn't agree on a price, he knows it has a value, right? And he wanted to get it at a price that a domainer would try to pay for it so that they can have a markup. So I think the education is the missing component. Unfortunately, like domaining is not the most welcoming niche. It's becoming better now with X spaces and things like that. It was a little bit more cliquish, like you said when you first went to NamesCon. But I think with the social media platforms, more people are getting exposed to it, and I think with time that bridge will be shorter, and you're going to get an influx of people that have exposure to crypto and domains. So when tokenization takes shape, these guys will love the fact that I can take anime.com and use it as collateral. I'm super bullish on that future.
Yeah, so like yeah, definitely with a name like anime.com it becomes a lot easier. I think that my my point is, and there's so much more to like building out the infrastructure, and there's so many things that you can do without having too much knowledge in the space. So like don't get me wrong on that, but one of the things, and I've said this so many times, and I still am quite adamant that the the biggest challenges are domain value. Everything seems to circle back, no matter what the product is, whether it's like fractionalization or like using names as collateral, and um, a lot of what is being sold relies so much on, especially like companies like D3 and Unstoppable, understanding domain value at a really 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 high level. um, and I think that is missing.
Yeah, but domain valuation will always be subjective. So I think the only true value is what the market is willing to pay for it. If a name goes on auction, right, and it ends up selling for $32,000, that is the value in a wholesale context, right? And then
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that that's the real value of the name. So I think when it comes to like using domains as collateral, it's already proven that once something is on chain, which domains now have that capability as of today, right? That's what tokenization essentially provides, right? People will
Yeah.
be able to determine the value in a peer-to-peer setting. So you'll be able to monetize by saying, "Hey, this is how much I'm going to loan you. That's it. It's $20,000, and my terms are 25% a year." If someone gives you a better offer, then you'll consider that, right? And so the value will be what the peer-to-peer marketplace
Yeah,
provides.
I think peer-to-peer lending, I think you can do it
Yeah, I think
without.
that's the only option, and I think that that's a real thing when it comes to like NFTs. People, have marketplaces where you can borrow money against your CryptoPunk, your Bored Ape. I've leveraged that significantly myself, and other people have made a lot of money providing that funding. So I think that that's NFTs. It works for NFTs. It works for JPEGs and monkeys. This is a more serious asset class, and I think it's
Yeah, I mean,
applicable here.
like if you want to do something like let's, I mean, Domain Capital has been doing this for forever, right?
Yeah, but
uh,
that's a different context. That's the pawn shop model. This is all I got. Take it or leave it. In a peer-to-peer setting, it's more competitive. So it's and then also it's trustless. You don't need to know who's lending
right,
you the
I
money.
agree. It's essentially like building a better UI it's like,
It's a completely different mechanism. It's
well,
like
it is
you know
it's a
you could
different
you could you could
mechanism.
you can literally borrow money against your Rolex on chain today. So why can't you do it with a domain, right? But you could take your Rolex to a pawn shop and get ripped off. These are options. We just have better options in a peer-to-peer setting.
You actually
No,
can hold on, Judge. You actually can take a loan against a domain name. They're just right. There's no platforms that are set up to make it really easy right now, and plus there's just not the audience. Because I wanted to say two things quick. First, if I want to jump back on Josh's side about listen, so these people that aren't real familiar with the domain industry, and they're working with Fred. Yeah, fortunately they got Fred on their team, and they do have some other folks that know because the issue they're going to have is right. You need to know some information, some details, the nuances of the domain space, because then you're just going to one, you're going to need to be educated. The difference is the Web3 folks seem to be like, hey, I'm willing to learn and educate myself about the Web2 space, traditional domains, as opposed to the traditional domain folks. They're like, we're lukewarm on Web3. They're less interested in learning. And plus, it seems more difficult to learn about all this blockchain and tokenization and all this stuff when the people from Web3 are like, geez, that's like, more of a remedial class to learn. It's all finite, all the stuff we need to learn about domains. And us, when the domain space, like, yeah, there's more to it than you think, especially about anyway, registries, prices, transfers. But, if I was representing the Web3 folks, I would say it's not that fucking difficult to learn. And let me say about price discovery and value discovery and all that shit. So, yeah, I saw when
can we
Fred,
can we can we can we can we can we
yeah,
real quick
yeah.
like talk about the like fractionalization as well, because that's a super interesting thing to me that I'm watching closely. But like again, I I've seen this fractionalization through Rally Road, right? And I, you know, in the nicest way possible, would consider that not particularly successful. I
Yeah,
guess like
fractionalization
what?
is a weaker application of tokenization. I think collateralized lending is high in the hierarchy of what I think will have real world applications. So fractionalization is a concept. It's possible because of it's more possible because of the blockchain, but I'm not a fan of fractionalization either. You
Well,
know, and
Yeah.
even in the NFC world, people don't fractionalize NFTs. Like you don't have six guys coming together to own a crypto punk. Can they do it? Yeah, but no one does that.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, I get it. Do you think that there's a big market for people that want to take out loans against their domains?
Oh, 1000%. And all these people that go, I don't know or understand Web3, the moment they find out that Todd got a loan for 20,000 for his name, they're gonna figure it out. It's just like using a Bluetooth. At first, it's like, well, I don't know if I can figure it out, but you will figure it out. Like the bottom line is, it's gonna bring an influx of liquidity that we don't have. Like every day I look at my portfolio, I play with the spreadsheets. I tell myself, oh yeah, I have X amount of assets and domain names, but it's illiquid as fuck, right? So this is going to thaw it out, and now we're going to be able to, you know, get some money from other people that are willing to take a risk in case we default in a
Who do
win-win
you think? But who are
capacity.
those? I guess like who are those people? Because
The same people in this room and other people outside of this room. Because look, look, you sold 2 3-letter .ais, right? You probably have a
Mhm.
few others. The fact that the story is going to tell itself. Someone is going to be willing to say, "I'm willing to loan you 5 grand," right? Where you just put
Right.
that 3-letter .ai in an escrow, essentially, right? And you're going to take that 5 grand because what's the alternative? It sits in your account, so you sell it. Now, if you have a buyer who comes along and says, I want to buy another 3-letter from you for 50 grand, you pay off the 5 grand plus the interest and you still make the sale. So it's business as usual, but on better terms. Now we have liquidity for our names. Like that's like a win-win for everyone. And the guy who loans you that money, if you default, he has a $50,000 asset. Or if you pay him on the right terms, he's making money lending capital to your illiquid asset. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
but I mean, for him, the liquidity doesn't change, right? If you default, he doesn't have a $50,000 asset. If
Yeah,
you
but he's
default,
he's going to have to make that calculated decision when he gives you an offer. That's the risk that he's willing to take. Look, there are people who've done this. Like when the Bored Ape started going down from like half a million to like 20 something thousand, a
but
lot of
they
those
were
guys
liquid.
lost money.
but that's a very different. There's a very different market, in my opinion,
How is it different, Josh?
because the value of domains, it's way harder to value domains than it is to value Bored Apes that
Okay,
have a floor price, and you know exactly what you can get from them.
and that's the peer-to-peer opportunity where two parties, the lender and the borrower, will have to agree on the value. There's no other way around it.
No, yeah, no, 100%. I just don't think that there's going to be a lot of agreements on those values.
And
That's right.
that means that asset is not liquid.
Well,
But if you come to me and you say, if I come to you today and I say, Josh, I have a three-letter.com, I'm not going to tell you the combination. I need to pay my rent tomorrow. Can you loan me $5,000 and Todd holds the asset and next week I'll pay you $6,000? You'll take that deal in a heartbeat. If I don't pay you next week, you keep the
Well,
three-letter.com.
but
You'll take that deal,
but
won't you?
the thing is, there has to be a lot of guys with good portfolios that are willing to.
Right.
It's not for everyone.
Well,
It's not for
right, but it's going to be
everyone.
they're just going to be few and far between. So that's like Adam's on stage. Okay, Adam, it's nice to know your names are liquid, but the people that they won't be needing the loans. I guess let me get to. I just agree that there's definitely going to be. It makes things simple, but just are the numbers really there to get to price discovery? Look, this is the most important thing at all. And Fred was like, "Hey, if we have a domain auction, who's really you can he was telling me you can have a reserve on your name, but we want to auction it to find discover the real pricing out there." I said a couple of things. No, how about I'll do it in fucking no reserve. That's how we're really going to find price discovery. But the point is, we're really not finding the real price discovery unless we have an audience of hundreds of thousands, millions, and everybody aware. But you can't make them aware of the values of domain names, but we at least just need the audience and let you know, hey, you might not know how much real estate is in fucking, Erie, Pennsylvania, but we're auctioning this off at no reserve. And someone's going to go, I don't know, I'll look real fast, but I'll bid 100, 200, 300. So my point was, we're not going to get real price discovery. It's right now in the room. If I auctioned off one of my lfod.com. I think it's a great four-letter, live free or die, or you can also say let's F or die, fuck it. But the point is, if I said, okay, we're going to do it in this room, and let's start the bidding at $10, I'm going to sell this thing, and we'll go in $10 increments up to 500 if it gets there, and then, well, are we really going to have price discovery? It's only this audience. And so you would the whole point is you really need to, even at Monty's auction when he's doing that's why people have these reserves that's never hit. Real price discovery would be having the ultra audience, meaning really anyway, the numbers, we have the a big audience and no reserve auctions and really let it go. The domain space, it just doesn't work that way and work well. That no one wants to do it. If there was real value or say real liquidity, we would all be like, hey, no problem, no reserve. But no one wants to do that. That's why at all the auctions you see, no one does it. Why? Because the audience is not there. And anyway, it just doesn't.
Can we hear from Shane real quick?
Sure. Thanks for joining us, Shane. Nice to see you.
Well, you're in my wheelhouse. I I didn't plan on coming up, but everything you're talking about, I mean, it's literally what I've been doing for the last year. So I have to be a little careful because I did work for D3, but I can point out I can point out the problems and the positive on all this. And I'll start with the negative side, and that's participation of the registrars. For this to really work, you need participation from the registrars, and you need participation from the big domain owners. Because if you look at kind of D3's post and you look at the Web3 side of it right now, they are the ones excited about it, but they don't own the domains, right? So they're not going to bring anything to the table when it comes to fractionalization. They're just not going to bring anything to the table. For this to work, people watching or listening to this and the same, I don't know, Josh, would you say 200, 300 big domain investors have to participate for this to work? Without that, this doesn't go. Would you agree with that, Josh?
Yeah. I mean, like we got messaged, me and another guy, are we willing to, put up our names for fractionalization? And it's like, I don't get it. It's like I don't understand. I like, yeah, if you can guarantee me a retail price, sure. But I just don't know how. I don't know who who are these who are the buyers? Like, why are they going to pay a retail price? And it's like, one of the answers I got is like, well, you know, they'll be happy if the acquisition price is $1 million, and then one day they can sell it for 1.2. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't work. I mean, I think, again, this is after being with it for a long time, and I was gung ho on everything. But as I step back and look into it, I don't think fractionalization has much value. Sure, there'll be 10, 20, 50 names that might have true value, the bigger names. It just doesn't offer any value to people to own a percentage of something. That defeats the liquidity. There's just not going to be that much liquidity. It's not like people are going to be buying fractionalized shares or tokens of a domain name daily. It's not going to happen. I don't see any possibility. So it really comes down, and then marketplaces. We really can't improve the marketplace that much more. We do a pretty efficient job. We are a digital asset. Domains are digital assets. They're not the same as a real world asset. We're not talking a bottle of wine or a car. We're talking to something that moves pretty freely, and it's already, our problems maybe be the diversification. We're talking about Namecheap fighting with GoDaddy, so there's not free flow between. Well, how is this going to be more free flow if all the registrars don't participate in this protocol? It's going to be more fractionalization and fractionalization amongst the industry, because we're going to have the trust of one person to say, yes, this token represents something at this registrar that's not participating with us, but we'll guarantee it. So it's a little difficult there. And then when it comes to lending, I think the market's there. I think there are people that do it. But if it doesn't work early, it's going to be hard to gain traction, because if domain investors don't get the percentages they want for a loan, or it's not the number they want, then they're going to stop putting up names. And if there's no good names, then nobody's going to want to put money, because there's not any good names to put loans against. So it's going to be one of those things where it's going to have to catch on and grow. And if it doesn't out of the gate, it could be a big problem. So that's kind of my short little speech.
But I
Yeah,
also
that's
think there's a
awesome,
wall
man.
that exists. I think there's a wall that exists where this can be done without the registrars, at least as a phase one. It might be a more difficult journey, but the reality is there's nothing that stops you from someone innovative from taking names, tokenizing them. Obviously, you need some entity that has to be trusted as sort of like the escrow, but even escrow.com can facilitate transactions. Why can't a third party, referee, collateralizing domain names? Like somebody has to hold custody of the asset, right? Between the lender and the borrower and enforce, the transaction, so to speak, right? Or conduct the transaction, so to speak. So I think I agree that fractionalization is a weaker selling point. But if you're talking about using domains as collateral, every single person in this room has a name that they're willing to put up, right? And see what the market is willing to loan them, even though they know that it's not the value of the name. It frees up some capital for you to spend on renewals, acquire other names, pay some bills, invest in other assets. It is what it is. Like that can be done today. And I think that what's stopping that from happening is we're looking within. Someone has to build this. And if there was a platform that existed that allowed that right now, I'm sure a lot of people would be curious and present some names. You know what I mean? I don't think
Yeah, absolutely.
we don't
Absolutely.
need to
I
wait
mean,
on the
there's some
GoDaddies and the Afternicks to make this happen. It's not
there are
it's
some
not
big
likely.
people, right? Like Braden, Amar, I'm sure Drew, like these guys will try to do their part to to bring in some good
Yeah, but
inventory to
Braden and
get things
Amar
started.
and yourself might not need capital. I think the real opportunities in the micro loans, like there are guys out there, right, in Morocco and India and Africa that have names that, you know, they'll take a loan for $200, right? And that name might be worth $5,000 to an investor, right? We call that bread and butter price buckets, right? And so the cumulative effect of that is where there's an opportunity. Like you
Yeah.
can't you can't talk about innovation and think that you have to go to a quote unquote cabal, right? If the guys in the top don't want to fuck with it, the guys in the bottom collectively, have their force. You know what I mean? So think about that guy out there in India who has a portfolio of 300 names and he's dying to get something to pay for the renewals. And someone is saying, look, I like this name. I'm not willing to pay, you know, $300 or $500 you're asking for, but I'm willing to loan you $40 and pay me back $50 a month from now. To me, that's where there's an opportunity, and that's how it worked in the NFT marketplace. It started with the small assets, and then the bigger assets were like, oh, this makes sense. I'm going to do this, and people
Yeah.
build platforms and ecosystems around that.
Hey,
No,
except
I mean, great points. I just want to. I invited James up here a little while ago. He's been very patient. Just wanted to see what he had to say.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. This may have already been said, but I think it was Todd that mentioned it's all about the audience. I agree. If there was a platform that allowed the domain owners to put up, let's just say, put up their portfolio and allowed anybody, the audience, say it's a huge audience that wants to make offers on um, whatever domain name, it's up to then the owner of the domain name to liquefy or liquidate when they feel an offer is right. And not an auction, but a kind of like an on it's this is happening in the NFT world. The ability to, like, for me, if I wanted to make an offer on one of your names, Josh, maybe I put it up for, the offer is for 30 days, and
Did he black out?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna. There's some things I want to ask you guys on stage, but let's go to True Domains. Alex, he's loves fractionalization. I want to give him a chance to speak, and then we're going to talk about a domain fund. Go ahead, Josh, or go ahead, Alex. Is this thing working?
yeah, I'm not hearing
Is it
anybody.
is it just me and you? What's going on?
No, I
Can you
heard.
hear me?
Yeah, I heard Shane just fine. Of course, Shane, we couldn't shake you. Hey, Shane, I'm glad you're here because I want to ask you and Josh something, and really the other guys, if Adam and Ish want to chime in. Okay, specifically about a domain fund, and let's keep it simple. Forget all the tokenization bullshit. Like in stocks, a mutual fund starts, it goes out on the open market and it buys the stock, whatever. If they're buying that day, they're paying. They might get a little better price than the fair market price. But the point is, just building a mutual fund was really successful with equities. I don't see why it wouldn't be with domains because why wouldn't you want to purchase a share of a portfolio of 1,000 names? Even of course we want to know what's the value of the names in the portfolio in the fund, and then what's the share price. But I think for just a general investors, doesn't a domain fund sound practical and sound like a good idea? So you can diversify by buying by buying into shares of numerous names at once.
I mean, for something like that, it would have to be really strong names to be in the fund. Nobody wants to invest in a mid-tier portfolio. And I don't know how many people with really high names, how many are actually going to be in a portfolio that someone's willing to do that with. So I don't know. I feel like if I'm investing in a fund, there's probably a lot better options to do than domain names. We like it because we're into domain names and that's what we're interested in. But if there's an outside investor, first of all, they don't really know much about domain names, so they're probably going to pass on it just for that. We would also need to see past performance on the fund. So just getting it started, I think, is going to be a bit difficult. And for those of us who do know about domain names, we're not a big group of people, so there's probably not going to be a lot of investors to start off going into it. So I don't know. I mean, for me, and this is the same with fractionalization. It's just for domain names. I just don't see it at this point. It's just too hard to evaluate names, and it's just there's just not enough there, not enough meat on the bone, like inconsistency involved in selling domain names. I feel like to make it worthwhile.
Hey, Todd, are you able to keep this space going for a little while longer?
Yeah, I'll just, yeah, I'm going to go over for whatever we need to because I want to hear what you guys think about the domain fund. But why, Josh? You need to use the restroom or something? When Alex to,
No. I mean, you're in control,
I
but
got,
so
oh, I
so
know,
I just
yeah, no, I will because I want to talk about this. I have a call with lawyers. I know the main lawyer, Jerry's not going to be there today, so I can be tardy and won't get in
yeah, just
trouble.
tell him to kick rocks, man.
Sure. Hey, anyway, Alex, go ahead, and then I want to hear what you guys think of a domain fund. I know Paige has some ideas, but Josh, you and Shane, domain fund. It sounds smart to me, but I really appreciate what Adam said. But go ahead, Alex. Let's see if your audio is working.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
I could hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to say GM to everybody. Yeah, because this is definitely one of my topics. This has been my obsession, if you will, between domains and figuring out, okay, when is domain fi actually happening? So I'm glad to see all the experts and innovators on stage. We've been having this conversation for the past year, 2 years now, believing that this is going to be a thing. And I now know and am certain that this is going to be the year. If not this year, then next year we're going to really start to see this pan out. And as a couple of people have mentioned, and I'll keep it real quick, but as a couple of people have mentioned, it won't be for everybody, right? It will be for the people that are willing to experiment with the names that they already have. And it would be, I would say, people who would be a little bit more experimental, on what they have. If someone has a name and it is a decent name, it doesn't have to be the cream of the crop, the most premium. I believe the premiums are going to be the first ones to actually get the attention going. Like I know D3 currently has hockey.com that they want to be able to do something with. And I know that there are other companies out there like Unstoppable who are looking at premium one word names to be able to put on the blockchain so that they can not necessarily do the fractionalization, but I agree with mainly people on the stage and saying that it's the using of the names as collateral. And I mean, we've seen this time and time before. Page has, done it before with what is it called? It's not dome. The phrase is escaping me right now, but I know that it's been done before with the on a see I'm losing my train of thought, so I'm going to skip over that part. But basically, stating that it has been done before in the traditional sense, but this crypto age, in this crypto age, we are now seeing where we have a place of $4 trillion and just sloshing around. It's like that capital in that crypto space is going to find its way towards domains. And we're seeing it with people like Azuki with anime.com. Let's a lot of companies in the crypto space already have the one word, names. So they know the value of a digital asset. And so I'm gonna keep it like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up real quickly because you guys know my thoughts about this. But I think it's going to be the people that have the premium names or the semi-premium names, the decent names, decent enough for there to actually be liquidity for that is actually going to get the most attention, and those are going to be the ones that are going to draw the most capital. So personally, I have been looking at buying better names so that when the time comes, I know that if someone wants, if I want to be able to take a loan out on this name, that I have the ability to do so. And I know there are other people that are doing the same thing. So that's all I
I
got
I
for
mean,
right
like
now.
best case scenario is kind of like you say, all these crypto people that have been trading NFTs for the last 4 years and trading shit coins and all of that kind of stuff. are able to then like, for some reason, people decide that they want to start trading domains, and it becomes cool to put like sick domains in your Twitter URL space, right? And like it's like a new becomes like a new PFP era. But um I could maybe see that happening, and if that happened, it would be a lot of fun, but it would also be a bubble.
I could
Paige,
see it be a bubble,
Paige, why
but
were you giving the
ev-
Fonzie? Sorry, Alex, I talk over you, but that's
oh
what
no,
I
you're
do.
good. You're good.
And
Let
so
Paige
that
go.
Paige was doing the old thumbs
Paige
up,
has done this before.
but what Paige, what?
It's like it's almost like I almost feel like we're trying to go the opposite direction. It's like the NFT world and and meme coins and all this kind of infrastructure. It's all like all the market is all built on speculation and irrational behavior, and people were trying to build ways for like actual real use cases. And what was the what was the word that everyone used to use? Gosh, what was the word that everyone used to use? Like,
I can't think of it.
We're all gonna make it. Like,
I want to
no,
win.
like what, um, oh
But
man, what
Josh,
was everyone like? Basically, everyone was looking for ways that you could like use your NFTs like in order like in a
utility.
commercial. Yeah, yeah, in like a
Utility,
commercially.
utility.
Yeah, utility. There you go. So everyone was like going towards utility. That's it, man. Damn, I used to use that word so much back in the NFT days. It's like everyone's talking about like, oh yeah, it's got utility. It's got utility. The thing is
This
with
has actual
domains.
utility though.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. Yeah, it's actual. We already have the utility. The utility is why
Exactly.
domains are valuable, and now we're trying to go and say like, we have these assets that sometimes they're illiquid because sometimes someone comes along and wants to use them, and they've got this really unique utility. But we want to go like to we want to go we miss the phase of like the of like the pure liquid speculation and frenzy, and we want to go back to that, while while the NFT world wants to go and find the utility. It's kind of um
No, I don't think the NFC world just wants the utility. I think the utility was kind of like the hopium, you know? Like, okay, so put it this way, right? Why do you buy domain names, Josh? Why do you spend tens of thousands of dollars on assets? Like why are you curious about certain names? Why do you wake up every day? Because of opportunity, right? You figure if I spend $20,000 on a name, because I can, it's not just because you can afford it, it's because you believe that you can at least 10x your money, right? So
mm.
in that opportunity, there are people that are willing to say, "Hey, man, you're good at finding these assets, right? I'm willing to bet on your skill set." Like it's not a open discussion. That's really what's happening. Someone is saying,
No, I do think that those people that that market for all the people that were really good at trading NFTs and trading ENS names and trading shit coins, like I do think that they would be very, very good at
in
trading
domains,
domain
right?
names. Yeah, yeah,
No, but they're not.
absolutely.
They're not interested in domain names because domain names are not liquid. I agree with you. I think I'm one of those people. I dabble in both worlds, and I'm actually better at domains because maybe I'm my risk tolerance. There are people out there that are willing to say, "Hey, listen, I got some capital. I've done well with Bitcoin. I've done well with Solana, Ethereum, whatever, and I don't want to learn this whole domain thing, right? But I'm willing to. I know that these names are selling for what they think is ridiculous money, right? Like yesterday, those guys were talking about Daniel got hits. They're like, oh, he's kicking ass. I'm like, well, he's kind of like a rookie in this world. Like there are people
Yeah,
that are you get my point? So the more
yeah, yeah,
exposure
yeah.
they have to the asset class, cool people as they perceive it, right? Are involved in this asset class. You get a Luca Nets domains that opens up the floodgates for
No,
another.
I 100% agree with you. Like, but for me, we talk an awful lot about you know. the lending and the fractionalization and stuff like that. It's like, in my opinion, the absolute primary and 100% focus of why you want to bring domains on chain is to get all the crypto degens to trade them like they traded
It's
NFTs.
not just the crypto degens, though. It's not just the
Yeah,
crypto degens. So Todd was talking about a domain fund. A domain fund, the only way that I can see a domain fund that I would want to be involved in is if we're going to go out there and loan people money where they put up their domain names as collateral. That's where everyone's expertise here works. Like, oh, you know what? That name is worth $20,000 on the low end. It could be 50,000 to the right buyer. We're gonna offer him 3,000. If he accepts $3,000 for a loan, let the fund. I approve for the funds to lend him that money. That makes sense to me, right? And if it doesn't, and we're gonna make our interest at peer to peer market. You should see how much people make lending people money where they use the NFTs as collateral. It's the risk the risk determines the APY. So 50% is not uncommon, right?
yeah,
It,
yeah. Just to
it's
clarify,
agreeable.
when I say like crypto degens, I'm talking about people that play in that space. Not
Yeah, but I don't
I
think I
consider
don't think I
myself
don't think you can rely on just the guys that hold NFTs or crypto when you're talking about tokenization. I think everything is getting tokenized. Everything, stocks. Um, the world is moving in that direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, maybe I feel like that is a more of a super long term thing. Like if we're talking about targeting aren't even involved in crypto, it becomes
What about
it's a
institutional investors? This is
well,
a
that's what
multi-trillion.
I've been pitched on a bunch. Is like, fractionalize your name so that we can sell them to
Yeah,
institutional
I'm not a fan of
investors.
fractionalization at all.
But that's what a lot of the plan is around, and then take them to institutional. I mean, what does institutional investors even mean?
So institutional investors love lending you money for high ROI.
But they have to understand. Can I cut in here? This is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
This is so so. All this is great talk. Like everything I'm hearing is what I've heard for 2 years, and it's a lot of great talk, and it all makes sense. But I worked with Arcade.xyz and Ben Dow on the NFT side, right? I advised both those guys. It was really hard to get people to buy and lend on NFTs. And there was a floor for them to look at constantly, right? So they always had a floor to base themselves on what they should lend so they felt comfortable making a loan. Imagine taking that away and having someone, a novice in this industry, try and make a loan on something they have no idea. Yes, they could eventually learn, but they will not feel comfortable because there is nothing for them to guide them. We started this whole conversation with no actual valuation.
That's why I talk
Newbies,
about value. That's what I mean. It's like they
that's
like
right. So
to bring them in. They need to have a really like an unbelievable
100%.
guide.
So I went to Singapore and talked to everybody that was at Blur and Blast because that was falling apart. And I said, why don't we introduce a new asset class instead of NFTs? Because you guys are really good at this trading thing, but let's get a real asset class. But there was uncomfortable about, okay, but I don't know it, and I'm going to have to learn it, and that will happen. I agree that with time this will happen and they can understand it and they can get value, but it's going to be difficult because arcade, and you said, Ish, you don't want the cabal. That's bullshit. The cabal is what runs it. That's what ran NFTs, whether you think it or not.
Said you
Crypto,
don't want to rely on the cabal.
you don't
You
want
want it
to, but
to
that's
be
how it gets started. That's a
well.
hundred
I mean, it
percent
goes downstream. I get it, but I'm saying are not interested. If Rich Ross says I'm not doing it, if Arif doesn't,
and seed phrase and all in like pranksy. It
I
doesn't
mean, these
happen.
are influencers. They don't. They're not the. These are market makers, and they
No,
play
yeah,
a
but
key
still, without
role.
pranksy buying 2,000 Bored Apes. Bored Apes doesn't really become what Josh, would you agree without
No, they play.
Frankie?
I'm not disputing
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that. But if he didn't have people to dump those 2,000 Bored Apes to, he'll just be sitting on JPEGs.
But it's social. It's it's the social proof
Yeah, that's how
that gets
markets
things
work. I get
going.
it. I get it, but we don't have that type of industry. Like people don't know who Drew Rosner is out there. We do know who Drew Rosner is in our
No,
echo chamber. We're in an echo chamber.
but if
That's
Michael
the bottom
Seiger comes
line.
up, and says it's great, there is a trust that has
I respect
been
Michael
put.
Seiger, but it doesn't go outside of the domain echo chamber. Let's be
A
realistic.
little bit.
Like
The nuclear
Well,
people
if
NFTs,
listen.
NFTs were
Hold on
successful
for a second.
because the masses adopted the concept.
Hold on for a second. It's like a knife fight. Okay, I mean,
well, I
No,
just
no,
don't
it's
think
it's
there's any.
it's,
it
it's
was
a healthy
I don't think
debate,
there's masses in domains.
it
That's
was
the thing. I don't think there are
it's hard to
masses.
get in here.
and that's the
I want to hear
opportunity.
from
That's
Paige,
the
and then I
opportunity.
want to hear from Arif, and then I want to hear from Summit. Okay, so Paige, go ahead.
Well, great discussion. I'm with Shane. When I hear cabal, absolutely the cabal is needed because that's who takes a time horizon that knows they're going to pump or whatever you want to call it, illuminate for a year, not a day. You know what I mean? And they have a time horizon that takes the whole thing up and up and up and up so it becomes self-fulfilling. So that's what I think of when I think of cabal. You know what I mean? Is that type of longer term liquidity. So I'll bounce off that now. Domain fund. Yes, I expect we'll have domain funds. I expect I'll be advising a domain fund in the next couple of years. I've pitched it twice in the last 30 days. Here's some of the issues I would have. If you don't mind me going back to domain fund, Todd, is that okay?
That's what I wanted.
All right. So we treated new money and institutional money like crap the last time it came into our business. When iREIT and other companies came in to buy income portfolios, companies that had them marked them up, sold them to the new uneducated money at high prices. They didn't deliver, whether that was because they sold them too high or because parking didn't work, whatever. But in my opinion, we lost the institutional money because they realized that the companies who are really making money in our space are VeriSign and GoDaddy and Identity Digital and those registries. So we lost that money, in my opinion, to operating businesses in our space. So now we'd have to get it back by saying, no, 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 no. It's by owning the assets that if you can match the way I've been pitching it is long-term capital with the long-term component of a premium domain name. It's wholesale value. There's only liquidity in domains at their liquidation or wholesale value. But we all think of tokenization as, oh man, I'll be able to get my retail price by a bunch of DJs. It's going to be awesome. But yes, I do think that if we could match an investor with a longer time horizon, with duration of 3 to 7 years, for that part of high quality one word domain names, that is probably all going to have that value. But then here's the tough part. Say I went to Josh. I said, Josh, we're starting a fund for domains. We want to pay you $450,000 a year and 3% of the upside to help us pick the best domains in the market. Problem is, most companies haven't been able to find someone to do that because if you know how to do that, you're probably doing it on your own and making more money. So I'll finish with this. So then the companies have been left with, we've got to pick an algorithm or we've got to pick a method. You know what I mean? We've got to pick a bot that's going to buy 5,000 expired names a day. And that's where I feel like the new money's done. So I'd be interested with Shane's thoughts. But Shane, don't you think somehow we have to marry up, if there was going to be a fund, the expertise to advise a fund somehow being in someone, and the reason I think I'll do it is because I'm kind of retiring. So, I maybe don't need to build a fortune the next 20 years. But if not, haven't they all gone, the new money that wants to kill it in domains, haven't they all tried to go with some type of algorithm or buy 1,000 names a day or something like that? So that's where I see the rub of fund working. And then lastly, but one of the most successful companies in our space has been successful with institutional capital, and you just don't hear them about it that much. But they're probably one of the best companies in our space, has been successful being a domain fund. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, I will say that there's also someone that is, that most people will know, that has a domain fund and has been very successful with it.
Well, I want to hear
And there's
Shane's.
also a financing company that has done very well and treated institutional money very well.
Well, before we go to Arif and Summit, Shane, I'd love to hear your response to Paige and then your thoughts on the domain fund. And of course, I own domainfund.com. Really, it's my partner, but I take all of his shit right from him. So anyway, domain fund, yeah. But Paige, Paige is an investment advisor.
Don't you mean the domain fund?
No, domainfund.com.
Oh, I think the domain fund is a lot better.
I know what you got. Hey, but Paige, you're an investment advisor, perfect manager for a fund to be on the team. Okay, but anyway, I love Paige. Shane, so the mic is yours.
No, I mean, I don't have much to say. I completely agree that a domain fund could exist before fractionalization. It's literally just paperwork to do that. I think the problem with institutional in our industry has been the lack of moving value with the assets within. Most funds love to see assets that change and can be reevaluated, monthly or biannually as to their value, and domains seem to be a little bit stagnant. So to me, when I compare a domain fund, I always compare it to a land fund because they're very similar in the way that they move and change value. But you do have comps on land to compare it to, but land doesn't move very often. The difference is yield. Land has yield on it. So domains used to have parking yield. That's when our first round came through. We used our parking as the yield that we showed institutional investors, and I don't think we have that. So there's definitely some obstacles to it. I definitely think it should be, it's more stable. And then with what we're talking about today, if you show lending and you show, let's say, fractionalization, if you show an asset class that is in perpetuity, I think institutional investors will be more likely to come in. So I think it's kind of this horse cart thing when it comes to institutional funds. But I don't think that we will see a tokenized group of names buying and selling regularly. I just don't think there's enough money in the market to do something like that.
Nice. Arif, thanks for joining us. What do you want to comment on?
Hey guys, yeah, actually, Josh asked this on the X a week and a half ago or something like that, and I put a pretty long reply, so I pinned it for those who want the long version. But the hybrid, what pretty much Shane and Josh have said, it's pretty much what I think as well. I mean, I don't think it's the technology that's preventing this right now. I think if there was a real demand for it, it would already be here, right? We don't need fractionalization. And to some extent, what you said about me, I was laughing before. For someone like me to get into that, like I wouldn't need to understand the actual contracts, right? So there's a technical limitation. There's certain things you have to get done. Same thing, escrow isn't just escrow. Escrow's escrow because they have all the legal obligations for all 50 states and all different countries around the world. It's not easy to get that stuff set up. So if you want to fully trade around the world, there are a lot of like legal obstacles that aren't the technology, and then you also have the technology stuff. But that aside, I think what Josh was saying before was that the big problem we have is coming to agreement on value, right? First of all, like no investor should ever invest at anything close to retail level. In fact, it only makes sense to invest at the wholesale level, right? But again, what's the wholesale level? Yeah, maybe for some very strong one word, .coms, we can come to a general consensus of the value, more or less. But even then, it's not always. But then when you have someone like myself, the bread and butter domains, it's how many people are really going to truly understand what the value is in there, right? Yeah, you can go through sales history, but even then, that's kind of hard to prove. And not only that, it's like it's never 100% consistent unless you're something like huge domains, right? Like go invest in huge domains. That be like, yeah, okay, I could see that because their numbers are mapped out and very clear, and they're very very diligent with their accounting. But otherwise, again, like it's just if it was already something that was demand, I think we'd have it. But again, also what Josh said, where I said it a couple weeks ago too in my post, is that if this does open the floodgates to the crypto degens, then okay, I'm all for it. Short term, right? It's going to hurt our industry long term because again, it'll flood the market. The value will go up, and those of us who position ourselves well will make money. either as consultants or fund managers or just people throwing our domains into these funds at well over a wholesale value, right? And there's money to be made there, but it's just that long term, the true value of domains is really to the end user, right? It's their ability to bring customers into their digital, storefront, whatever it is, and that's where the true value of a domain is. And
Yeah,
so,
can I just say something on that,
yeah,
because I think it's a good point, and a lot of people have kind of talked about this. I think Paige mentioned it as well. It's like if we bring in a bunch of new people to the domain space and then start selling them these names in a way at retail level, like it's going to be great for a while,
yeah,
but it's not going to be good for the long term.
100%.
Hey,
Josh, I have a question.
yeah, well, hold on,
What?
Alex. I know you want to ask
Yeah, I
a
got you. I
question.
got you.
I'm going to go to Samit and then Victor and then Alex. We're going to be here for a little while longer, but first I wanted to say I think um, as a fund manager, what's realistic is if even in a domain fund, is for the fund managers to be able to find undervalued names, to be able to just acquire everything at wholesale is just unrealistic. So you certainly want your fund manager to be able to find names, undervalued, so you have potential. But even in real estate funds, you want to have a good managers who are finding great properties that are undervalued, but they're not necessarily just buying foreclosure properties. Sometimes they're buying, market value properties. You want the manager just really to be a jack of all trades. That means be able to find great, sometimes great market value opportunities, certainly undervalued opportunities, and then wholesale as well. Hey, Samit, what's up? Go ahead.
Suddenly, everybody's a bloody financial institution out here. When I got into domains, I came in because it was an individual sport. Yes, we call ourselves an industry, but not fucking really. Everybody's out there buying for themselves, selling for themselves, shit like that. I was against putting domains on chain because it adds another layer of complication to a simple registrar to registrar transfer. But what's really the size of the domain industry? Primary industry, maybe $5 billion. Secondary market in transaction value, probably a couple of $1 billion. In total value, maybe I've heard figures of 50 to 100 billion. Let's say 100 billion. Okay, on the high side. Total value of all domains owned by everybody, who's willing to sell them, not using them for business or whatever, maybe $100 billion. The bloody crypto market is $4 trillion. You have people investing in fartcoin and shitcoin. You have people buying NFTs which come and go in a week. Are you kidding me? You want to let that opportunity go? Keep it simple. Forget the funds, forget the fractionalization, forget the bloody loans. I don't want a loan. I've got a $1,500 domain. I want cash. Someone will buy it for $900. Make me an offer on OpenSea. Done. Sold.
I actually honestly I agree with this so much, and that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. But you put it well.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the whole complication of the whole, oh, let's do this and let's do that and get fund managers and start an ETF for domains. Go fuck yourself, man. I'm sorry about the language, but honestly, keep it simple. Show me another opportunity where I can sell my domains.
You're right.
I listed on Afnic, I listed on Sedo, I listed on Atom. I want to list it on OpenSea. In fact, Paul and me discussed this back in 2023, I think, when the NFT craze was at its peak. Michael Seiger actually went ahead and did it. He listed, if I'm not mistaken, he listed Pyramid on OpenSea. It didn't sell. He was too early, but he had the right idea. Let's get some of that crypto money into domains. There's $4 trillion shilling around in the crypto market. Let's get some of that. You think it's going to hurt the value of domains? I think for once, domains will be correctly valued. I'm going to stop here, but sorry about the
Man, you
language.
said a lot of great stuff, but what did you say to me about fucking myself? What did you say exactly? Hey, Samit, no, we agree. I mean, I do think there's room for a fund, meaning for just the simple reason when I was talking, most folks that I talk with that are domain investors, newer domain investors, they think they would like to have, if right, it'd have to be, anyway, managers you can trust. But really, I know people hate that. Why have somebody manage, you really need to rely on them, but it just makes sense like a mutual fund. People think, why don't you just buy the stocks it's because it can be beneficial. But right, I agree with I hear
Yeah,
when people
but
say,
Todd, at the
yeah.
same point, Submit, you may have a great idea of what you want to do, but I don't know if you have to knock down what I want to do. Is your right to do what you want to do such that you're asking me to perform an unnatural act with myself? I don't think so. I should have the right to do what I want to do too.
It's natural
No,
anyway.
no, I'm not saying you don't do what you want to do. I'm just saying keep it simple. Funds will happen, ETFs will happen. Bitcoin was started with the idea of buying Bitcoin and owning the Bitcoin. In fact, people said don't keep it in the exchange. Paul always says keep it in your own wallet. If it's not in your possession, it's not your Bitcoin. I think it's the same for domains. I
Let
don't
me
All
want
ask
right,
you a
10%
question,
of
Samit.
let's
Let me
$1,500
ask you a
domain name.
question, Samit.
hold on.
If somebody offered you a loan for your portfolio, would you ask how much are you willing to lend me?
It all depends, no? Now we are
It's a
talking
simple yes
hypothetical.
or
I'd
no.
rather sell it.
If someone
I'd
said,
rather sell it.
"Give me your portfolio. I want to know how much you want me to. I want to offer you a loan against your entire portfolio." Would you consider that? Would you take that call? Would you
Ideally, I
explore that
don't like loans.
opportunity?
I don't
Okay, well
even
that's the
like
person. That's the
loans.
perspective. But I'm sure there are enough people that would say, "What's the
No, no,
number?"
I'm saying there'll be people willing to do everything, but I'm saying on the most basic level, just keep it
The,
to
the, the,
savings.
the complexity,
Another venue.
the complexity, and how it's done is irrelevant. The bottom line is there's an opportunity, and that's where there's a challenge. Is how do you build it right?
No, no. So
Everyone
you
agrees
do
that
the loans
domains are
and
illiquid, and going to add more liquidity to domains is by tokenizing them. That's just the bottom
correct.
line.
So you tokenize them and then you sell them. You don't
No, no,
have
no.
to
We're,
take
we're talking
loans,
about
or you
two
don't have
different
to
things.
fractionalize
Listen,
them,
there
or
are
you don't have
people,
to.
there are people that are not even interested in selling things that they can borrow against. You ever heard the saying, "The wealthy never sell their assets"?
Well, if you're trying
Yeah,
to
it's
avoid
okay.
some
Yeah.
capital
Can we
gains,
hear from Can
it's
we hear from Victor real quick?
we absolutely are. I'm going to go to Victor right now, but I wanted to say about the about something Nish said about the loans. Now I can't remember. Victor, it's a pleasure having you. Go ahead. I'll think of what I need to say later.
Hey Todd, thanks for having this great conversation. And Josh, thank you for inviting me. I've heard all the great conversation. And with all due respect, Samet, I respect you. We had fun chatting and thank you for coming to NameFi Twitter Space. I am on the opposite side of you, and then I love to share my perspective with you and everyone who think that tokenizing is not useful and making it harder. I have 3 points to make. The first thing is that you claim that the domain industry is small and estimated to be $100 billion, which I think is a fair order of magnitude estimates. But I don't think it's small because it has to be small. I think it's be small because it's just not enough people is it's available for enough people to own it in an easy way. Like I entered the space for about 2 years now. We always ask ourselves like how big is the market, and we look for the numbers. I think another aspect is that there's about 20,000 people to 50,000 people who actively trade domains. If you look at, let's say, Reddit forums or name pros and forums, I think the domain industry is small because there's so many people who could own domain but haven't owned domain in the easy way. Like think of how hard it is to open a bank to open a bank account or to own a piece of this. There's so many domainers, the people could be domainers but haven't been. And so that's the first thing. If they come in and says, not only you value this domain, I also value this domain. They could bid, they can increase, they can have a lot different perspective why a domain could be valuable. So that's number one. The second one, I totally agree with you that the technology about on-chain is very, very bad user experience. Experience of blockchain right now sucks. That's why we're building. I totally agree with you. Just think of how when cars first come into place, it's very hard to operate than a horse, right? If someone is a knight, someone is a horse rider, like you guys, right? You are pros. You already know how to navigate through riding a horse in the space of domaining. But then cars come in, you have to change gas, you have to kind of change gears, you have to even operate it to like starting a car even was a job back then. So that's hard. And then, but ultimately, everyone rides cars. It's just 10, 100 more, even 1,000 times more people riding the car than the horse. And then just everyone who's for early in the space benefits. And the third point I want to make, and especially why we're having a huge bullish vision about this space, is that domain is not just another asset. Domain is the core foundation of the whole world, right? Like I'm a believer and developer in smart contract. I believe the pen and paper police and lawyer approach to like old world smart contracting and promising how to do things will move to the smart contract way, just like how people move from phone to smartphone, contract to smart contract, because it's so much easier to enforce a smart contract. Now, if you also agree that contract will be enforced smartly in the future, you will envision a future where all companies and organizations run on these people agreements that's enforced electronically. In those cases, companies will be digitized, and the best foundation for company to be digitized is on domain, right? Just imagine today Google signs a piece of paper to pay someone some money. In the future, Google will enter a small contract to pay someone for the contract for the service they rendered. Now, in those cases, Google will not be identified as just Google. Actually, Google or any company will be identified as their domain name because that's global, unique, human readable, memorizable, hierarchical IDs. The reason we're not building or randomly generating new Web3 like names that we issue ourselves, the reason we're building into ICANN issued, qualified, good, compatible domains is because we believe companies and individuals are going to build upon them as a new form of organizations. And in that time, domain will be the world's economy. Domain will be the foundation of the world's economy. So you may think that domains are $100 billion today. I think at least they will be $1,000 trillion in the future if you count the total worth of SP 500 and then the derivatives. That's like long-term vision, but we know we're small, we know we're starting out, but maybe I have a big dream about domain being in the world stage. So three things: industry is small, but more people can be there. UX will be better next time, and then domain is the foundation of the future.
Well, Victor, thanks for all that. I want
Just
hold on. I want to let you go, but I just wanted to say 1,000 trillion. So, Josh, go tell me what that number is. I need to figure that one out. Also, Victor is he's making us all like we're all domain investors. He's like telling us we're all good looking because it's making us feel good. It's going to turn into how much money? It sounds like we're in the right business. Uh, but I wanted to say I did remember about two points. What Ish was saying. How many people right now? How many of you take loans on stuff? You need a loan. People get a loan when they buy a house or buy a car. You're not always out there, hey man, who wants to give me a loan? Even the people that are broke, those are the people that get the loans the least. But the point is, if say in my garage somebody wants to loan me money on this old table, fucking yeah, loan me money on it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to default, especially if it doesn't hurt my credit. I'm going to default. You can have all this shit you want to loan me money on. I'm defaulting on all of it. Most of it, we're not out there. Most folks, you don't get loans. It's not like, yeah, you know what I'm looking to do is pay a little interest. Now, if you're somebody who does a lot of transactions, and I'm saying whether it's big financial transactions or real estate transactions, if you're like, dude, I do need hundreds of thousands, I mean millions, and I need it for 2% interest, then it's, made to order for you. But I'm just saying the average person is not out there going, man, I need another loan today. Okay, and what Victor was saying, it reminds me of a little bit of course the market's going to grow, but when they started making digital cameras, we didn't have to use, film cameras to make movies. Everybody thought now everybody it's going to be easy to make movies. Yeah, everybody can make movies, and actually there's more distribution too now with YouTube and Netflix stuff. But are there really more good movies? No. So we got people all the tools, and it doesn't mean that the market expands the way you think it's going to expand. So certainly with titles and real estate transactions and things are going to be much easier to manage because of tokenization. But is the market going to expand where it's going to mean something to, your assets, your asset value? I don't know, to be determined. All right, Alex, go ahead.
Give me a minute,
Well,
Victor. I'm not against on-chaining domains. In fact, I'm pro it now because it opens up a whole new market for domain owners. I'm just saying that it does not need to be complicated. You do not need ETFs. You do not need funds. You do not need loans. You could just be selling domains on OpenSea, just like NFTs are selling. There are 50,000 projects, 100,000 projects, some selling for fractions of a dollar. It doesn't matter. Uh, the cabal might move the thing. That's typical tech speak. We have the peak and the thing of technology acceptance. That's going to happen. But I'm actually pro on chaining domains now because it opens up a whole new market.
No, amen to
yeah,
that.
I agree. I agree with that as well.
Yeah, and let Alex. So we're going to
Um,
be here for another 15 minutes. So fuck, we can do everything. Great. Hey, Alex, go ahead.
Oh no, no. I think we've definitely talked about this enough. But I see where Media Wizard is coming in at. It's like, hey man, I just want money for my names, and I'm 100% with you on that. And I think the whole maybe not necessarily fractionalization, but loan will allow for more liquidity. But like you said, as you said, putting more names on chain. I think that that is the first initial step, letting people know that hey, you can put your names on chain, you can accept a name for crypto, and having that more feasible, more accessible, and then that way, of course, people will naturally adopt it and be more perhaps more willing to use it for collateral or all these different types of things, use it for the DeFi realm. But that initial clicking of, hey, a domain is a digital asset and you can actually trade it. You can trade it like an NFT, like as Media Wizard said, 4 trillion. That's a lot of money, and it's sloshing around, chasing different things, using leverage, 1,000x leverage at something like a lot of that money is going to say, hey, maybe I don't need to be risking that money because there are a lot of people that will be wiped out from doing those leverage trades or trying to find the next 100x. So they're going to take a step back and say, well, what other opportunities are out there? Or let's say, hey, I have this opportunity to either use a name as collateral or be able to lend out against the name and get 25%. Like that's possible with a peer-to-peer, marketplace. But I do agree with Media Wizard, make it more simple, more appealing to people by just putting them on chain first. And I'm reiterating this one last time is that the more premium names, the hockey.coms, I know Unstoppable is looking at oneword.coms as well. It's like those premium names will draw attention to this,
yeah,
and that's what it's going to
the
be.
one thing I'll say about that is that I'm not fully. I'm not 100% sure on this because ENS kind of showed otherwise in some regards. Although, like most of the big market players in the NFT space weren't particularly big in ENS. Like compared to like the big meme coin traders and the big NFT traders, I would say most of them largely avoided ENS. And I think that my concern with domains is that we love them. We think they're super cool. We have a very unique experience with domains. Um, but most people that I speak to couldn't care less about them and they don't think they're that cool. Um, so they might be missing the cool factor.
No, oh, that's on them. And then it's funny though because Gemini just retweeted something saying that okay, reply back with your .eth. Like they'll engagement farm. Like they are aware domains exist and that it can be an asset. Like you said, it's missing that cool factor, but you get a couple of people that are interested, that have the right names, that do it, and it's all over. And then one last thing, you did say that it will cause a bubble. What market do we know that doesn't have some form of bubble or speculation? We're still living in the quote unquote .com bubble, right? It's like we still we're still picking up the name. So it's like
Yeah,
those
I don't
bubbles
think
will
I
always
don't
be a
think
thing.
those I don't think those are necessarily bubbles. Like I don't think the dot com. I don't think we're in a dot com bubble particularly. I mean, it's been kind of
We're
it's
not there.
just because of the utility. But we certainly I don't mind bubbles. In fact, I like bubbles, and we certainly have seen plenty of bubbles in the domain space. In the whether it be .io or whether it be various other TLDs that have come and gone. There was a bubble when .mobi came out. So yeah, there's I'm fine with bubbles.
I was waiting for you to say .ai. Is .ai a bubble? That's
I
it.
was just gonna say.
you know the thing is that I think that most of us will agree that there's quite a lot of question marks around just like how far .ai would go is going to go. So you never know. We might not even have to worry about that being a bubble.
Really? That's
I mean,
that's some more reason why it's a bubble.
yeah, yeah. I mean, not to get too dark on it, but like, who knows what the future holds with AI?
A couple
I
things.
think for me, I just see, I look at the indicators like companies like Coinbase and Panthera investing 25 million in Doma. These are companies that no matter how much we spin it, they do the due diligence, they do the risk, they have a plan. So to me, that's a good signal that tokenization is coming. I was at the meetup last night, so I'm passionate about this topic. I'm rooting for the people building around it. D3, Unstoppable Domains, NameFi, and others. It's very challenging, obviously, but I think that once people see it in motion and it's working, and it's simplified, like Samit said, there's no doubt that we'll embrace it. Right now, it's kind of like we're in the lab discussing this concept, but I'm looking forward to seeing this being, manifesting and happening. And then at the end of the day, it becomes another option. It's not, oh, you have to go through this funnel, right? You have to tokenize your names. It would just be awesome to have that option.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
we're gonna.
No, and someone also said that all assets will become or like what we call RWA, real world assets, right? In India now, the guy who created the whole digital identity thing for India, like your social security, we have something called Aadhaar. That's a huge thing. Every citizen has to have an Aadhaar or has an Aadhaar if you want a bank and stuff like that. He's coming up with an on-chain solution to real estate. He's actually creating a stock exchange kind of thing for real estate owned by people in India. And then those are going to get fractionalized, and you're going to have lending and ETFs and all that against them. But that, I mean, if you just consider the property market in India, that's going to be a few trillion, right? That makes sense. But for a small business like mine, or for most of us, I guess, some are different scale. Josh might be at the top end of the scale. I might be in the lower end of the scale, but we're all in the same scale. We are looking at sales. I'm sure that most of the people would prefer sale to a loan or a fractionalization or 100 other. It's like NFTs, right? If I have an NFT in my wallet, I want to sell it. I don't want to take a loan against it necessarily, unless it's a board ape and I think it's going to go up and all that kind of complication. But sometimes you just want to sell and move on.
You
And
can.
Yeah.
sometimes you want to take a loan against it and diversify in other assets. So, it's good to have that option.
You know,
When I had my board apes, I took out loans of $500,000 in 4 board apes. And that was some of the money that I invested in physical real estate domains. I built myself some nice things in real life. And I was still able to, get tax benefits from that. So everyone's going to do what they want to do based off the options they have. And so that's where I'm coming from. I feel like if it can work with NFTs, it can work with domains. And I think I wasn't trying to argue with Shane earlier, but the point I was trying to make was if the people that have the best assets don't initially participate, then you're forced to look at other tiers, right? It would be awesome if the domainers of the best assets see the vision, but sometimes things have to move on and have momentum or critical mass before more sophisticated investors participate. You know what I mean?
the thing you're saying is, it certainly can work. I think it's easy for a lot of people sitting here to say, you know what, I'll believe it when I see it. And that's why with the tokenization stuff, well, listen, we're all waiting around. I think I'm going to invite some builders next week. And I make fun of the builders because, I'd work with these blockchain engineers that you guys build stuff. And who's going to sell it? You're going to rely on someone like me. Somebody's going to have to go out there and sell this stuff. It's bad enough I had to learn about some of the, your techniques, some of the things that you're building. But we're going to see all sorts of things built in on blockchains that who cares? So you built it. It's not those build it, they will come horse hockey stuff. And I know Fred always brings up hockey.com. That's Richard Lau's name. I was making fun of that name last night. Who cares about hockey.com? Who cares about that name? I think of so many other better names to even,
Yeah,
use as an example.
I agree. I don't think anyone cares about hockey.com.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
hockey.
it's a good name. Come on now, you
Okay,
can't be bad.
well, okay, but anyway, so
It's not all that.
yeah, so I wanted
okay.
to
Well,
say,
okay, fine.
Yeah,
I'll
take that out of the
then if you guys
pitch.
don't want it.
yeah, when
You
another reminder, we're going to be going for another 5 minutes here. Another reminder, real fast. If you're going to sign up for NamesCon, you're going to go to that event in Miami. Do yourself a favor, get your ticket today, and use Speaker20 as the code, all capital letters. Tomorrow the prices go up. You'll save, you'll get a better rate today, plus 20% off. I look forward to seeing a lot of you there. I wanted to say, if I look forward to seeing Brooke. I see Brooke here. Brooke Hernandez. Brooke, you left, you came back. I wanted to tell people she's wearing the white blouse in her photo. She's a friend of mine. She's a broker. If you have a great name and you really need a professional to help you, well, even on the buy side, but definitely on the sell side, reach out to Brooke, follow her. But anyway, reach out to her and say, I have something worthwhile here. How can you help me? Because we're all trying to sell names, and sometimes certain names need a broker, basically need some help. We all have them listed. But anyway, so it's a reminder about NamesCon, reminder about, if you need some help with a broker, reach out to Brooke. But okay, so Josh, I wanted to say quickly about the GTLD. You made a post, and I think what's important about the post that you made about GTLDs, you think maybe sometimes investors had missed some opportunity. But I guess I'll sum it up by saying, we're still saying .coms and now .ais, but very few domains are investable. And Arif always says that very few domains are investable. And now we've been talking for the last hour about this new technology and is there something there? But yet when we're really in the domain space, we can barely even leave .com, .now, .ai, but investing in other extensions. We're not like pioneering, like, yes, let's really accept or adopt other extensions, let alone new technologies. So what were you trying to say there? Are investors overlooking the GTLDs? They've just went about it the wrong way. I mean,
All
clarify
right,
what you were trying
I'll
to say.
try and sum up. I'll try and sum up my thoughts quickly and in a way that pisses off the least amount of people possible. Essentially, I think that when new GTLDs came into the frame, there was certainly some well established investors that got in early and purchased them when they were first coming out. But it was early, right? And they're just almost too early. The end user market wasn't really ready. But then I would say over the years, you've got new people coming into the space that feel that they can't buy. They're priced out of .com or let's say .ai now. So they're looking for something that is more investable to them. So they start looking at new GTLDs that have less demand in the aftermarket, right? And so they buy all these new GTLDs because they're able to, because they're at a lower price point. But because they're newer investors, they're not as savvy to what kind of domains actually sell to end users. So what ends up happening is you're not necessarily seeing a lot of sales and not getting an awful lot of success from them. And I think that kind of hurts that hurts the market for new GTLDs in a way. I think that slowly but surely it's getting a little bit better, and I think that more people, I think with like the data that we're able to see today, there are more people reporting sales than ever before. So it's, and the kind of work that Raising.fi is able to do, Darcy, um, helps showcase that a lot more end users are adopting new GTLDs in the early stages of their funding, is a sign that perhaps there is an opportunity to invest in these names if you know what you're doing. But the thing is that the same principles apply for investing in new GTLDs as investing in .com. You still want to look at the same kind of naming conventions. Like a lot of the names that are being used by end users follow the same kind of naming conventions that you would see like in a .com, but without the dot. So I just think that maybe, and I could be wrong. I just think that maybe as a group of investors, we could probably be better educated on what new GTLDs we should be investing in and which ones we shouldn't be investing in, because there's a lot that just don't make sense, and there's very few that do make sense.
That's where we're going to start next week. I wrote it
Yeah.
down. GTLD. No, I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
the
important.
extra obstacle,
Yeah.
is that the premium pricing, right? So that's where it gets a little bit more difficult. Is that if you're finding stuff at the right price, great, but there's extra obstacles that many of these TLDs have premium prices, which means that basically the registry is trying to squeeze us out and take our money, right? As main investors, which is what I would do if I was them, right? I'm not blaming them for that. I'm just saying you got to be careful with those premium prices. But there are certainly needles in the haystack that you can find every now and then. Like we see them all the time, right? People find this and that, and it's not a premium price, or it's a much lower premium price than it should be, and that's where you find the value. Same thing in .coms, right? You got to find stuff at or below wholesale for your portfolio to make sense longer term, and that's the other
Absolutely.
question.
One other thing, Arif, like while we're on that topic, and this would be something that would be really cool, that if we could have the data for this, but like I bet you that the companies that are using new GTLDs today, I would say a very large portion of them probably registered those names with premium renewals, because investors just weren't going to pay the $1,000 or $2,000 renewals, so they were able to get into those names for $1,000 or $2,000, and they're okay paying that as a renewal every year.
Yeah.
I bet if you did an analysis, there would be a lot of those. And then on the other side, there's a lot of them that purchase directly from the registry, like Go.chat, right? Which was not available for an investor to purchase, but the registry sold it direct to an end user. So there are a lot like that as well. So like Arif is saying, there's certainly quite a few hurdles, and a lot of them originate from the pricing structure and the behaviors from each registry. Having said that, there are still, I do think there is still some low hanging fruit out there, and as end users, and perhaps because some of these domains have been easier to get into, is why we're now starting to see an uptick. And there is an uptick, it's an undeniable fact, an uptick in early stage companies embracing new GTLDs.
Yeah, and the repurposed CCTLDs, right? Like AI, I think, is a big part of this shift, but it's been happening for a long time. If you go back 10 years and you go, most of the NGTLDs were not investable or usable. Obviously some exceptions, but 10 years later, like there's no denying that the demand has shifted, right? Is it full throttle? No, not even close, but it's certainly made a big enough difference that there's a lot more money to be made there if you could find those, as you said, like low hanging fruit, right? Even in the last 3 months, having my buying spree, I picked up a couple of premium NGTLDs, like not super premium, but like 2-figure renewals, like $80, whatever it is. I'm like, 5 years ago, forget it. I never would have done that. But I see there's room now, but you have to get the right ones.
Well, I want to say, without groveling, Adam, Ish, Shane, Arif, Alex, Summit, Victor, Paige is gone, but I really appreciate you guys being on stage, because it sucks when it's just me and Josh, but Josh and I really appreciate it. So I say that from the heart. And I want to say, seriously, thanks for all the audience sticking around. I mean, come on, Domain Talk. We find it interesting, and that's why when I used to be on Name Pros back in 2006 and 7, some of us, we just love domains, and we can say good things, bad about them. But domainers, if we stick together, a lot of us, there's when new technologies, new platforms, new things happen, we can really have an impact as a group, sticking together. But I just appreciate people sticking around to listen for so long when we're just talking domains, in this room. But so we're going to be here next week doing it, Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll do the domain name law, but let's just focus on domain investing. Next week, we're going to get right into, investing. We're going to pick up where we left off, investing in GTLDs, some of the opportunities, and we'll have plenty of great things to share. Until then, everybody have a great rest of your day wherever you're at, and we'll see you very soon again. Take care.
Thanks, guys.